Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll see what happens. We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I am a dissident.
Don't move. Move.
I'm saying no, why you hear Palantir, 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 Palantir. It's not going to stop.
Seriously, we need to release the F-scene list.
Turns off.
I am not a church boy.
Turns off.
They're full-on vampires.
They hate our beef. They hate our beef. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Thursday midday edition of the Due Dissidence podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular, of course.
Hello.
Live from Bangkok, Thailand. It is 12:10 a.m. in the great city of Bangkok. Midnight.
Sure is. Sure
Right.
is. And that's when things really get started here.
Right. Yes. New York is the city that never sleeps. Thailand is the city that sleeps all day and goes all night.
It goes 24 hours a day, man. It's constant buzz of energy. People have told me when I've said I've never been to a city that has the kind of energy New York has. Some people have told me you got to go to Asia, and they are right. Obviously, it's a completely different culture, but in terms of that like pace and that energy and that constant, it does have that vibe here. Same thing in Delhi. You get that vibe of like 24-hour a day activity and buzz and just, constant activity. Yeah, sure. I've never seen that on that level in any other Western city.
All right. Well, we got some activity going on today. We got 658 strong in the YouTube chat to start things off. 265 over on Rumble. Please smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button over on YouTube and the follow button over on Rumble. We're going to waste no time bringing in our special guest of the day. He is, I assume, the presumptive heir to the InfoWars empire, but he's also an independent journalist and commentator who hosts Gray Area on YouTube, Rumble, and X. He is also an unlikely but unironic longtime fan of the show, so it is great to finally connect with the man himself, Rex Jones. Rex, what's up? Thanks for being here.
Thank you. You do me great honor. Yeah, you guys have been, I was saying this earlier, you guys have been the soundtrack to my life basically for like at least the past 3 years, very, very consistently. Like, I mean, on dates, chilling out, going to the gym, sad moments, quiet moments. It's been you guys that have been there with me.
Is that, and hence you're unmarried.
Yes, I'm 23, so I got some time. I got some time. I'm just bold.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. These newfangled conservative Christians, they're trying to bring back those traditional values.
It is true. My dad is always demanding grandchildren. He's always demanding them. He's always telling me to go get some made, and I'm like, all right, you got to give me some time. He knows. He understands the grind.
You got this new wave of like the Nick Shirleys and the Nick Fuenteses who like have their promise rings. Who we're all
virginity is back.
They're into their virginity. I mean, I think Christianity is a great excuse for interminable virgins.
Yes,
you're not a guy who can't get laid. You're a Christian.
You're a Christian, right?
Well, it's interesting. The Roman Catholics, their priests, they have to be celibate. I'm Orthodox or a catechumen in the Orthodox Church, so like the priests get married and stuff, and that seems to make things a lot more normal, right? You would think that, I don't do it because it's not good for me to do. And then what comes out about the Pope and the Vatican and all of that, of course. So
well, of course. It was such a great story of how we connected, we used to, for the audience, we used to get super chatted by this guy with the screen name. What was it? Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor was never my friend. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's
McGregor was
old
never my
school,
friend.
man.
Used to super chat us.
OG.
And you used to talk about it. You were from InfoWars, and you talked about us at the InfoWars set. And, we said, okay, who from InfoWars likes our show? I figured it was maybe a tech guy or a lighting or a sound guy or whatever. And then you started tweeting complimentary stuff about us, which we thank you for very much. Right. And I put 2 and 2 together. I'm like, you know what? Is that Super Chatter? Is that Alex Jones's kid? Really? And turns out it is. So that's how our paths crossed. It's really, really wild. But tell us about growing up in indie media. I mean, your father really is, in a way, the godfather of this whole space. We were talking a little bit before the show about how you lament the sort of transformation of indie news into sort of content, right? If you want to talk about what was that?
Slop wars. Yeah, no, I was just agreeing with you. I'm bad at interrupting. It's a genetic thing. My bad.
Yeah, well, don't worry. You believe me, I could tell you have a good excuse for that. But yeah. So yeah, talk a little bit about that. Just growing up in this space. I mean, you did grow up around the space. I mean, your dad would bring you on for broadcasts when you were like a child.
Yes. So, I was doing a stream. It may have been the other day or the day before the other day. And I had someone comment, like, I've been watching you 17 years. And I was like, that can't be right. Like, that's inaccurate. That's not true. But my first on-air appearance ever was in 2009. And it's crazy to think about it, but that was 17 years ago. So, I mean, I grew up at that office. I've spent more time in there than any home I've ever lived in, right? I started going up there. They acquired that place about 16 years ago. They had 7 people when they went in. And at its peak around 2018, 2019, they had about 79 employees. They also had, they were doing their own warehousing. So people point at the operation and they go, oh, grifter, supplements, blah, 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 snake oil, XYZ, this, that, the other thing. My first caveat to that would be like Whole Foods. They do the same thing there and people are buying it there and it's fine for them, but we can't do it to fund ourselves. But basically, he had about 100 employees working for him. At the peak of the operation. And I saw that place grow from like being where he'd broadcast out of my bedroom and the pet store, then finally moving to that office. And I grew up in a newsroom. I grew up with dozens and dozens of people running around with articles and papers and always being on top of the latest story, the latest information, the latest thing breaking. It's a lot of like emergency, red alert, breaking news type of stuff that just filtered through my mind at a young age. So I became very interested in just whatever media or news that I could consume and I could learn from. And growing up watching the show, that is ultimately what I did want to do, right? Like I did want to do that as an adult. I transitioned to a different career because that didn't exactly work out for me in 2020. And I'll get to that. But coming back into the media space now, it kind of is just like, this is what I've always wanted to do. So it's very fun for me. It's very surreal for me. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous because I love y'all's show so much. It's hard to explain, but growing up was a trip, man. Let me just keep it to that. Growing up was a trip. Y'all can ask me specific questions. I'll be very happy to answer them. But it was, I met Roger Stone. I met Jesse Ventura. I met Louis Farrakhan. I met a lot of crazy people over the years.
What was this?
A bunch of crazy stuff.
Was this before Farrakhan started taking the Scientology money?
I don't know. I was a baby, basically. I was like 8 or 9 years old. So I'm not sure. You'd have to look at the timeline. But he did an interview with Alex. They did like an hour interview. I wonder where that is. It's somewhere.
Well, that's the thing. When
that would be a pretty damn interesting interview. I'd never heard that.
Right?
Farrakhan. I would love to see that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
We've got a very smart chat. Anybody out there know where to find that?
It's hard to track this down because when they threw your dad off of social media, when YouTube cans you, your archive just disappears. I mean, I'm sure you guys have them, but they're filed somewhere.
Actually, that's an excellent point. And I just, the topic of like, what is it like growing up there is just so vast. I don't really know where to begin. That's an excellent place to begin. So in 2018, we get banned everywhere, right? And I had close to 100 videos on that channel. And other people had way, way more videos than I did. The channel had like 2.8 billion views and 2.3 million subs in 2018. So just imagine where that would be now if it was left to be uninterrupted,
Wow.
right?
But that
all
happened
got
to
deleted.
Hedges, right?
Yeah.
That
I mean, it
happened
was
to Hedges
crazy.
when they pulled him down.
What'd you say? Sorry?
That happened to Chris Hedges.
Yeah. That's a good point.
When they pull
too.
you down, everything gets wiped out. It's not just you can't post anymore. They delete your entire library. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, people can go point at my dad and go, oh, he's a lizard man. He says the reptilians live on the moon that's made out of cheese. But ultimately, there is a lot of really groundbreaking reporting. There's a lot of stuff that he talked about, especially pre-2016, that was vital. And boom, it's erased off the internet. And then we don't even have it. Right. So very interesting.
I always said your dad was one of the MVPs of that 2016 Trump campaign. Without your dad, I don't think Trump would have won, because he had this huge following for years and years and years, but he never really injected himself into electoral politics the way he did in 2016, thinking that Trump was this, bludgeon to swing at the establishment, if you want to call it that. And at the time, I sympathize with that. Trump's politics were never my politics, so I didn't vote for Trump, but I watched InfoWars all through that campaign, as I'm going to show you in a few minutes when we have time. I watched your dad and Roger Stone all the time through the summer and fall of 2016. And even though Trump's politics were not mine, I was in the general election rooting for him to win. Because I felt like his victory would be, in a sense, a triumph of democracy over Hillary Clinton, a woman who was clearly as manufactured as could be, and who ascended to the nomination through, anti-democratic tactics. It seemed like Hillary was the anti-democracy pick in 2016. So I bought into that entirely. So I watched your dad all the time during that campaign. And he really did have a massive influence, which in my opinion is why they canned him, because the peasants had stormed the gates and had taken over the media space.
Right. I agree with that. Well, the interesting thing is, and you talk about 2016 being kind of the focal point or the shift where he actually endorsed or supported a political candidate.
Right.
That's the truth. So like the entire time that I grew up with all the information and really knowledge and ideology I absorbed being anti-government, of being what I view as like pro-human, pro-liberty, pro-freedom. I'm not sure what ideology that actually is still to this day, but that's what we thought Trump would at least break, was the opposite of that, because love him or hate him at that time in the country, no one had a neutral opinion of the guy. Everyone either really liked him or really disliked him. And it was a very different political environment than what we have today. You have, as Russell calls them, the Hillbots, right? And that was the preeminent liberal faction of the day. And that was kind of the educated liberal that wanted war. And Hillary Clinton was very open about this and about what she wanted. Right. And then you had Trump talking about the war in Iraq and criticizing that. And that was his big moment with Jeb Bush. And that's what got him the initial motion and the initial traction, is we're promised something different. We're promised an end to the forever wars, perhaps, maybe. And just that really was enough of a hint for a lot of people to sign on to that side. And sadly, I think it's been proven that he wasn't the wrecking ball. He was the final piece of the system, because you needed someone this extreme to get in to be able to actually use the governmental powers that have been set up in the way they had been set up. And I don't think we realized that. I think we just wanted a solution. I think we saw a guy that promised it. And maybe for a period of time, you can talk about the Epstein stuff and the fan of the playground stuff, as Russell calls it. But maybe for a moment he was legitimate. Maybe for a moment he did want to actually help the country. The past decade of my life has really been me coming to terms with that as a lie, and that it maybe was never true. So it's very interesting.
All right. So go ahead, Russell.
Yeah, so you've said that your father, I'd never really thought about this until I saw you say it, that people say Rogan invented podcasting, or as we know it, and that in a lot of ways your dad created the independent media as we know it. And it's true. Like, you go back and you look at his videos from the late 90s. Today, what he's doing there is very recognizable. It's a very recognizable format and form. But Jesus, this is the fucking 90s, man. Like, nothing like that existed anywhere at that time. But having grown up with that from the beginning, having really seen the birth of that all the way to now, do you feel like what's still called independent media is really just the new corporate media, that basically the money figured out that the eyeballs moved there, so they chased after them and bought up the whole space. That's what it looks like to me now. It's just corporate media.
Yeah. I would 100% agree. It's a lot like the transition from cable into having like 8 or 9 different streaming services, right? It's just a new medium for the same kind of propaganda. And y'all covered Sodagate. Y'all covered the way they all kind of coordinate tweet. I'm not saying my dad coordinate tweets things, but, you know, a lot of fake protest footage getting retweeted, getting shared with people. And that's just kind of in the collective consciousness of the influencer, right? And that's what they call themselves. And I think that's quite a disgusting term, to be honest with you, to call yourself an influencer. Just be like, why can't you just be a human being or a broadcaster or a reporter or a journalist? It's like, no, my job is to tell you how to think. And I think a lot of people are high off of that. I think a lot of the people coming into modern independent media, like whatever we want to call it, right, Russell? I think a lot of those people are like Nick Shirley, as an example, are looking for, you know, the fast track to the top. And it's pretty easy, right? I mean, you look at who's that guy, Xavier Rousseau, and then Emily Saves America. It's like a vampire movie or something, right? It's like a vampire movie. And you look at these people and you're like, they glow in the dark. Like, this is not legitimate. This is not real. But I think you're right. I think there are a lot of voices that are legitimate. I like Jimmy Dore a lot. I like you guys a lot. I still like my dad a lot. I love Harrison, love Owen Schroyer. But a lot of people are controlled. So I would 100% agree. And it's just a transition from the old into the new. Instead of having a Fox News host who has a producer, who has a manager, who has like an overseer basically, and is connected to all the groups, you just have an ad read. And if you say something bad, the ad read goes away and the money goes away. So you don't want to say anything bad, do you? I mean, just toe the line, right?
Well, do you know anything about Influenceable? Because that came up in Sodagate, and then Marjorie Taylor Greene name-checked the same organization as being one of the bigger ones that puts out the marching orders. Basically.
Yeah, I think it should be illegal to do political campaigns that way to pay for them. That's my opinion, be honest with you.
Yeah, because it's a form of dark money. I mean, it's a form of, you know, PACs and stuff like that. It's completely unaccountable. And with social media, it's kind of a Wild West in that way, right? I mean, you could just operate out of sight in so many ways. All right, before we move on to our next topic, I just have to ask you this, at risk of sounding like the biggest douche on earth, and I want to make people understand. You DM'd us that you wanted to talk about this, so I sound like such an asshole asking you, how did we influence your politics? Please sing our praises and feel free to go on for as long as you want. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. So it makes me a little uncomfortable to ask you this, but you did say you wanted to talk about how you know, we influence your politics. So how did that happen?
Well, okay, so it's an interesting thing. Let me think about it. So as a kid, one of the big reasons why I was a fan of Trump, quote unquote, as like a 15, 16-year-old, is because you look at, quote unquote, the liberal and you're like, ha, this is funny, dunk on them, whatever. And then as I got older, I realized, no, that's a trap too. And they're just putting me on one side of the football game and they're having us fight each other for no reason. So I looked at my beliefs and I started to realize that a lot of them were prejudiced and not like in a traditional way, but just like minor things. You don't understand about the world. You don't understand about the country. You don't understand about the things we've done both abroad and to the people here. And you're like, you know what? If we're going to call ourselves the greatest country in the world, why don't we have healthcare for people? Why do we have homeless veterans? Why can people not eat? Why can people not afford housing? These are very basic things. Why, when you go to a doctor, like they get to decide whatever the surgery costs. There's no established norm of a price for a medication or operation or a remedy or any of that. It just doesn't exist. So it was things like that. And it was you guys making a class distinction instead of a racial distinction. And that's one of the reasons, or just sexual or anything like that, any kind of identity politic group, because both the left and the right, what I realized after watching you guys is it really is. It's that old stoner critique. It's two wings on the same bird, bro. Like, but that's the truth. So watching you guys, I was able to find people as to where maybe we don't agree on everything, but y'all don't exist in that paradigm. And that was very refreshing to me. And a lot of the people I grew up watching and enjoyed watching, they leaned into that paradigm and kind of became a part of it. So you guys being outside of that sphere and kind of creating your own universe, of just free independent thought. I wanted to be there. So I've gone from being someone who would call himself like, I don't know, on the political compass, when I was a teenager, I might say that I'm like bottom right somewhere. I would say right now I'm in the middle of bottom right and bottom left. And I don't exactly know what that means, but I know a nation that calls itself the greatest should be able to take care of its own people. Like I'm pro-life, for example. We probably don't share that belief. But ultimately, if you're going to ask people to pop out kids, you got to be able to feed them. You got to be able to give them childcare. You got to be able to give them time off. Should make sense, right? But we don't do that. And it's just both sides just see this punishment going on where it's accelerationism and it gets worse and worse. And I want a better solution. And unfortunately or fortunately, what that means is reforming our system of government that we have right now, whatever that means. So that's why I'm a fan of y'all. Y'all talk about that.
All right. Well, we don't want to get you written out of the will. We want your dad to leave you, the InfoWars. But I hope we haven't changed the long-term direction of the outfit too much.
Well, there's nothing. That's the thing that we'll talk about that. There's nothing to leave, right? So the company is bankrupt. He's personally bankrupt. The company, they had an auction for it in 2024. The Onion people, they bid 1.1 million, but they bid 10 million of the future earnings of the company once they acquired it. And then people friendly to Alex bid around 8. The bankruptcy trustee gave the company to the Onion people. The judge struck it down because he didn't order it to be done that way. He didn't say he could promise future money. It was cash only offers. So the office has been in limbo, but eventually one day it will go away. And there'll be the Alex Jones Network. It'll be something new. I don't know when that happens or how that happens, but I always knew as a kid, like growing up at the office, being itty bitty little, like 8, 9 years old, I remember people telling me like this one day, this is going to be yours. And then getting older, one day, this is going to be yours. And I always would I always just look at him funny, be like, no, it's not. Like first off, like I love being here. I appreciate being here. I've seen so many amazing things being here. It's like a movie, but this is someone else's movie. This is not mine. I'm eventually going to go do my own operation and I'll take elements of this and I'll borrow and inspire things from it. But at the end of the day, like this is another thing. I was just happy to be a part of it. That's my view on that. I wanted to address that because a lot of times people will say that, and I never felt that way, ever.
All right, so Rex, I want to what's our percentage female audience? Was that like
I think 14%,
14%?
No, we're up. We
All right,
did good this year with the women. We increased our market share with the females 2% this year. It's not bad.
All right, well I'm about to take care of that. Okay, so Rex, this might surprise you to hear. Now I'm not pro-life, but not for the reasons that a lot of people are not. I have always thought that the argument that it's not a life until a certain stage, I've always thought that was sophistry. I've always thought that was ridiculous. You know who else thought that? Philip K. Dick. Philip K. Dick wrote a short story where you could send a truck to get your kid until they were 13. And it was his statement on what he thought of that argument, that like at a certain age, now it's a life, but it's not a life at this age. I've pretty much, since I've been old enough to have an opinion, that's been my opinion, and it really hasn't changed. Like the idea it's a life at 3 months, but not at 2 months, and not it's a life at a different point on a continuum. So I don't actually disagree with that point. I am pro-choice because I don't feel like it's my place or the place of the government to impose that belief on other people, particularly being a person who doesn't carry babies. That's really my rationale. So your ideas about life beginning at conception, I don't actually disagree with. But I mean, I'm assuming that's what you believe if you're pro.
Well, that's a logically consistent argument. That's why I'm a fan of you guys, is because you make points like that. And even if I don't agree with you in entirety, or even if we disagree, right? Like that's totally fine. I just don't like being lied to from a position of someone profiting off of a emotion that they hold or an opinion that they hold. And y'all don't do that. So like, I appreciate that, Russell.
Thank you, man. Thank you. You're muted, man.
Sorry, my dog was freaking out. The mailman must have come or something. So I muted the microphone. So let's talk about an issue that has really rocked conservative media, especially independent media. Here you are, Rex, on the set of InfoWars, where you still do fill in from time to time, talking about Israel.
hear, prominent people in America say that, Europeans have anti-Semitism in their DNA. And it's like, I made that point many times. Like, okay, they keep calling Palestinians Nazis. Who else do they call Nazis? I mean, it's not that far-fetched.
It's so messed up because the Palestinians, like if you look at the genealogy and the DNA studies that have been done, those are the people that are the closest related to Jesus. Like,
right.
They live right there. They live in his home. And Israel, like Jesus said, you've turned my father's house into a den of thieves, referring to the temple. We've turned Jesus's home into a graveyard.
That's brutal.
I mean, look at this. Like, it's unconscionable. And that's why I have no issue speaking out about it, is because it's literally cartoon bad. Right. And if anyone was ever to go, oh, vicious anti-Semite, it's like, you've killed tens of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands of women and children. Like, good grief, get it together, use your brain. You are the Nazi. You are the Nazi.
I have to laugh because it is so ridiculous to have to be defending. Like,
it's
dying.
Wild.
It's crazy.
And like they call themselves like, we are the light of the world. We are Israel. It's like, no, you're like the dark pit. Like,
right.
What are you talking about?
So obviously this issue the past 2 years has caused a lot of divisions on different sides of the
aisle. When was that clip from?
That should be, I think I got back on Twitter in like August of 25. So that must be August or September.
Okay. So that's
I started growing the beard in October.
There you go. So that's a few months ago. It's pretty recent.
Yeah.
The Israel-Palestine issue has obviously rocked different political circles, even in more left of center circles where we tend to swim. The phenomenon of liberal Zionists kind of showing their hand as being very tolerant about apartheid and stuff, and thinking this is just a Netanyahu problem. So I don't want to say it's not caused any divisions on the left, because it certainly has. But on the rights, it has been just a stick of dynamite thrown into the swimming pool. So as someone who grew up in that sort of corner of the space, broadly speaking, can you speak to just like, from your point of view, sitting from where you are, just how divisive this has been in sort of conservative alt media?
Oh, well, this is everything. And like prior to, the genocide beginning, the massacre in Gaza in a land called Palestine, I mean, you look at the right and it's like, we're all unified. We're all America first. We're all X, Y, Z. And then you got this group of people that just magically appear once October 7th happens and they start going into Gaza and bombing it. And they're like, this is biblically mandated. This is true. This is correct. This is what we're going to do. And then if you're against that in any way, you're an anti-Semite, right? And it's the IAEA definition of anti-Semitism. It's not being critical of Jewish people or being hateful towards them. It's being hateful towards the state of Israel. That itself is the crime, right? So like for me, free Palestine is a very easy thing to say. It's like 1776, you would think, right? Because these are people that have been oppressed for decades,
right?
Longer than that, nearly a century. These are people that have been bombed. These are people that have their children killed. These are people that have been starved, that have had electricity and water used as weapons against them. And then we have the nerve to say we're the greatest country in the world. And then our strongest ally has the most moral army in the world. And then they kill all these people and do all these things with our weapons, really in our name by proxy. We're the ones doing it. I called us we're like violence cucks. We're like violence cucks. Like we want to see other people do the killing for us, but we're still proud of the killing. That's what Lindsey Graham is at the end of the day. Like he wants to get off on it, but he's not going to go over there and do it himself. He's just more than happy to send Americans over there to do it, to go to war with Iran or to send more missiles or weapons over to Israel to use on the Palestinians. He won't ever do it himself. So that would be my critique. Everyone's at each other's throats. Everyone has a knife out. Laura Loomer is collecting scalps as we speak. She's hunting people down, walking down the hallway like that meme with
on her little tricycle.
Yeah, seriously, like Saw. Yes, but that's very real. And a lot of people critique my father and say like he's not calling out a JQ or whatever, where he's not being critical enough of Israel. I would agree 100%. Like if I was doing the show every day, I would say there's a genocide going on right now, and I would show video of it. That's what I would do. He's done that at moments, and at the moments he's done it, I've approved of it. He's also called it a genocide, but he's also had people like the Rebel News guy, the Ezra Levant on. It's like, oh, well, we make excuses for what we do. It's like, no, you killed. I like to use conservative numbers so they can't argue against it. Let's just say conservatively 100,000 people. We know it's way more. We know the number is way higher. Let's just use a number that they'll agree with. So you get to kill 6 figures worth of people. You get to eradicate the land because, as Smotrich says, the most expensive phase of construction is the demolition. So you're going to build a casino on top of these people. And that's ultimately how it was sold to Trump and what we're all doing it for. And if you're against that, you're somehow anti-Semitic. You're not MAGA.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to see just how divisive that's become, because I think what you're really seeing, we saw this on the left too, broadly speaking, because, you know, I don't consider the Democratic Party to really be part of the left, but you saw, you know, right around the time when Biden was in power and running for re-election, as much as people had, you know, criticisms of his handling of Israel, Gaza, and his criticisms of like the infrastructure bill and all this kind of stuff, you saw a lot of the media at the end of the day, most of even independent left media corralled behind Biden until he dropped out, and then Kamala in the general election. And those who didn't were sort of deemed to be closet right wingers. You're working from the other side. I mean, we've been called closet Trumpers all the time. And I feel like on the right now, the same thing is happening to people like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, you know, who are calling out the Israeli genocide. They're being accused of working for the other side, playing for the other team, of disloyalty. And I think, you know, this issue is just so emotional to people. It's so impossible not to just feel shock and horror at what has happened, that it kind of transcends those divides. Go ahead.
Well, imagine how messed up you have to be to see the videos of this all day, every day for years and then still approve of it.
Right.
To see, literally, I'm not going to say anything too crazy because YouTube and whatnot, but like dismembered, you know, children and stuff, like every day it's a dad carrying a dead kid out of a house. Every day it's a video of IDF putting on. The craziest thing to me is Destiny goes over to Israel and he films a video. They put this online. He goes, look, y'all are doing the thing where you put on the lingerie after you clear the house or kill or capture the people, and you think it's funny. Just don't do that. Just don't film it. And it's like, what military is this? What even terrorist organization does this type of thing? It's like beyond even cartel. But this is what we support, and you're a bad person if you don't support it. It's what God wants, but then they can't even spell God's name. It's really wild. It's really crazy. Sorry to just step on that there.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, and it's, you know, you look at a moment like that Destiny clip, and it really tells you what a sick, diseased society it is. That they all laughed. They all laughed.
It's a joke.
Yeah, they thought that was really funny. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about how deranged that culture is. That played, you know. I mean, normal people. What if you went up to a bunch of Swedes and said some shit like that to their military recruits? Their jaws would drop. They'd be horrified. For this country, that's a normal thing. That's funny to them.
Right. It's the point I've heard you make. I believe it's the carried over trauma behavior, right? Of what you have done to you, you're going to do to other people, right? So the Palestinians, they're the Amalek, they're the Untermenschen, they're the ones that, you know, they don't matter ultimately. They're not real people, but us, you know, the proud state, we are the important ones, and we must be kept alive at any cost, even if that means not one person remaining of that lineage lives. They want to kill all those people. That's what genocide is. And Holocaust means death by fire. What is death by fire if not a bombing? Right. That's what I think about.
I think it's also, and you see this in many areas, many arenas, many spheres. Humans are at their worst when they have impunity. Lack of accountability. Humans don't handle that well. They don't handle that well. The longer they go without consequences, the more monstrous they tend to become. And the Israelis for so long have been able to get away with anything, which so many of these things we look back at now and we say, oh my God, how did we normalize this? You go back, Golda Meir, she was celebrated as this incredible hero. And perhaps the most famous thing she ever said is, maybe one day we will be able to forgive the Palestinians for killing our children, but we'll never be able to forgive them for making us kill their children. What a fucking psychopath. what a psychotic monster. But they have presented that quote for decades as an example of the horrible moral position that the Israelis are in. Like now, post Gaza, people are reevaluating this whole history. But for decades, they were able to get away with saying things that were that fucking monstrous without anyone questioning it. Quite the opposite. They'd get it praised. And I think that the combination of the trauma and the impunity has just made a society of psychopaths.
Right. And they'll give you this analogy. I wonder if y'all have heard this before. I heard this from Ezra Levant. I heard this from my co-host. We debated on this very early on in the show, and I think I've changed his mind on this subject. I don't want to speak for Tim, but I think that I have. They will tell you, the people arguing for the Israeli or Zionist position will go, look, it's like someone breaks into your house and takes your kid or kills your kid, and then you go over to their house to kill them, and they're holding their kid up as a so then you have to shoot through the kid to kill the person. You're like, no, no. You would call the police, and the police would do something about it. You don't get to go murder someone's child. Ultimately, at the end of the day, like that's just the fact of life. That's the reality. But what is the police in this scenario? It's international law. International law doesn't exist. I mean, you look at Venezuela, that's a primary example of that not existing. You look at Gaza, that's a primary example of that not existing. Even Ukraine, in a lot of respects, with the press gangs and the forced recruitment and all of it. We just like, oh, we have the Geneva Convention. We have things we are allowed to do and not allowed to do, but only for the weak countries. The ones with all the nukes and the ones with all the money, we can do whatever we want because we got the biggest ding dong. It's that old George Carlin bit. Seriously, it's what y'all talk about too with the Trump movement and the Trump worship and it being slightly sexually charged. I would agree with you, especially in the modern era. Like it's very, it's strongman worship. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
Well, you see what just happened with Tommy Robinson, another one. He shared a gay porn ad on X saying, what does this mean that on X they're showing these ads? And then, people tweeted back, well, the algorithm responds
targeted
to what you've been looking at.
See what you're looking at, right? It's what you want. Yeah. It's not trying to turn you gay. Right. Exactly. No, I think it's a desire to be dominated by a strong man who loves you. That's what I think is at the core of a lot of this, for sure. All right. I want to show you, I want to take a trip down memory lane here because I want to prove to you that I was a true follower of InfoWars during the 2016 election campaign. And this will be a blast from the past. And this is something that I remember watching live. So this was one of the funniest moments in InfoWars history. And you must have been a kid at this time. I mean, you're 23 now. So I guess you were like 13 or 14. I don't know if you have any recollection of this, but I was
around. I was active. I remember this. Oh, look, Owen used to. I remember the day.
You're going to get a kick out of this. So this is a crazy story. So this was the 10-year anniversary of WikiLeaks, which is October of 2016. And this was right around the time when, Julian Assange had leaked the big DNC dump in July of that year, embarrassing the Democrats as having rigged the primary against Bernie. And they were promising more leaks that were election related. And so they announced that they have a big announcement to make at, I think, 10 a.m. local time in London, which I guess in Texas is about 3 a.m, right?
Yes.
So everybody thought that this was going to be the October surprise against the Democrats in what ended up being like the Podesta leaks. But this wasn't that. They teased this as potentially an October surprise that was election related, like Hillary's campaign is over. I think Roger Stone actually tweeted out, Hillary's campaign is over October 4th, 10 a.m. London time, which was a reasonable assumption because it was October and this is about the time they were expecting this. And it was so widely anticipated that I guess your dad called in the crew for like a late night, early morning broadcast. They must have gone live at like 3 a.m. anticipating this huge bombshell against Hillary Clinton. And I, for a crazy reason, watched this live at like 4:30 in the morning, New York time, for reasons I won't get into because it's a long story. I had a tour guide gig in upstate New York that summer and fall. And I had to be upstate New York at 6:30 in the morning, and I was living in Brooklyn. So for that season, it was an insane gig, but it was worth it for reasons that I don't have to belabor. I had to leave Brooklyn at 4:30 in the morning and drive 2 hours up. So I happened to be awake for this broadcast. And slowly over the course of the broadcast, your dad and Owen comes to the realization that this event is not the October surprise event, that it's simply a 10-year anniversary commemorative event for WikiLeaks, and that there's no news value to this whatsoever. And they get more and more pissed off about the fact that they called the whole crew in at 3 a.m. until they finally have had enough. So let's take a look at this. This was fun. Oops, what am I doing here? Come on.
That's my dad as I remember him, by the way, with the Cartman hair. Fat Alex.
Alex.
I miss Fat Alex, man.
Wait a minute.
Great guy. So funny.
Did my video just didn't play that. Let me see if I can get it here. I hope I can get it. Where is it? Here it is. Let's try it now. Here it is.
Nonetheless, the material that WikiLeaks is going to publish before the end of the year is of a significance.
Before the end of the year, he's made a deal. Before the election, jackass. 34 days. 34. Private Pile. 34. 34, Private Pile. What is that? It's a goddamn jelly donut. And why don't we have jelly donuts? Because you are a disgusting liberal fob. WikiLeaks said they will publish enough evidence to indict Hillary Clinton. That was back in June 13th. So we just keep hearing this. I think he's probably out of documents. He's doing all this in the election to get more folks to give documents. And when the DNC guy gave him documents, he got shot in the back 4 times. So I think they're doing important work, but when you don't have the documents, you don't have more, you don't sit there and troll people for the 10th anniversary to make yourself look big and have a bunch of weird, lazy liberals going, I'm not actually with WikiLeaks, you know, combing their hair to make sure it looks like it's sticking up. How do I look like I don't care? I just go to bed. Here, I'm liberal. You know, give us a break, man. And so that's what this comes down to. I can't do like a true liberal and act like I'm messing up my hair without doing it. I mean, we're tired of it. We're done. But WikiLeaks has done a lot of great work in their past, so I still give them an A+. But we're teleprompter free. We're going to be honest about what we see and what happens. This was a huge buildup. The media will make a big victory out of this. Oh, it was supposed to be this big release, and he didn't give anything out. It's all crap. So thanks a lot, Assange. Really, thanks for nothing. Now look at the little son of a bitch up there smiling. I tell you, this is a joke. This was Fop World. He made a deal, folks. My gut tells me. I can't prove that. He said after the election, he said by the end of the year.
Now, he ended up coming out with the leaks a few days later, so he probably took that back eventually. But yeah, this is, you know, they brought the crew in at 4 a.m. for nothing.
He made the deal. Hey, buddy, there's 2 months to the end of the year after the election. We have 34 days, 34 days, Pile, to save the world from Hillary that wants to kill you. What the hell's your problem?
Do you want to take that one? Because I think it's the false quoting of you that's...
The false quoting of you. How about the quote? You released devastating information that would destroy Hillary, that the indictments were followed. Where is it?
Instead of
who bought them TVs, bitch? Tell me that. Move, bitch. Get out the way. Get out the way, bitch. Get out the way. Move, bitch. Get out the way. I mean, you get out the way, man.
Well, and that's what I'm saying.
You think you bitched us? You think you rolled us? Yeah, you ain't seen nothing yet.
I thought we were in an info war. I don't know what these guys were doing up here.
I'm rolling Hillary. I'm the dark heart. We ain't backing down. Just because you're a fake chump, don't think we are.
That was soft.
Get ready.
That was soft.
I'll double down because of this. I won't be associated with you.
Now we have to
Who bought the TVs, bitch? Tell me that.
We have to make
up in front of my tour bus.
Those were the days, man. Those were the days. What times? What times? That was back when there really was, like in 2016, there was this punk rock energy around the Trump campaign. Like it was counterculture. It was anti-establishment. And when you take stock of that, we talked a little bit about this in the first segment. 10 years later, it's like this feels like George W. Bush's 3rd term. Like all of that, like where is any of that? It's all gone. It's just been completely cannibalized by the same globalists, oddly enough, that everybody thought they were fighting against there.
There's this graph I always like to reference, and it is instances of the word racism being used in articles leading up to before 2011, before Occupy Wall Street, and then afterwards. That's what it all is, man, is that they figured out the program, right? And you know, I thought that we were different for a period of time. Maybe we were, but now in the modern era, it's all the same thing. It's all slop war. So I can't be a part of it. you know, and like that's why I'm happy to see shows like y'all, shows like Jimmy, shows like mine, to be honest with you, is because we're able to talk about this stuff from an independent lens. And I think very few people are doing that anymore. It's crazy. And it just changed overnight. And it's like, I wasn't conscious. I was alive, but I wasn't conscious when Bush was president. But this is what I always imagined Bush as president was like, with Dick Cheney and Rumsfeld doing what they were doing. I mean, he's making deals with Halliburton.
I mean, the Bush administration was like Woodstock compared to this administration.
Really?
I mean, it's in the same family, but this is a level of just absolute lawlessness and determination to break the system.
Yes.
And turn it into just a kind of Curtis Yarvin fascist monarchy,
techno-feudalist, like y'all say.
Techno-feudalist thing that is just beyond Bush's wildest dreams. It's just way past what those guys were even contemplating. I don't think Dick Cheney in his darkest heart imagined going where these guys have gone. I think they're, with the Bushes and, you know, anyone who really came before, there was a basic notion that you can't break all the norms and guardrails because those protect us too, and it'll just destroy the entire system. Like, there are certain places we just can't go. Even Cheney, these guys are functioning off a completely different vision. They are functioning off that Curtis Yarvin idea of techno-feudalism. So the idea of trying to preserve something of the constitutional order, however misapplied in some cases, or hypocritically applied, or not applied at all, it was a basic common agreement about how the society is supposed to function. There was at least a common agreement of what everything was based on. You could argue about what the Constitution meant, but there was a common agreement that nah, man, these guys are just lighting that on fire and going to the full imperial might makes right thing. And in many ways, you know, and there's the irony. It's the you will own nothing and be happy. Keaton put it very well. This movement is you will own nothing and be angry. They have it's a different approach to the same end, because hey, it is a very brief window in history where most people were literate and had enough calories. It doesn't have to be that way, right? I mean, for thousands of years, we lived very differently, where you had exactly what you're having now, where you have this thin strip of oligarchy on top, whether that was the aristocracy or what have you. And then most people were just struggling, illiterate peasants who worked on their lands, or, you know, worked in their armies or whatever. They're trying to bring us back.
And they love the Lord. They love the Lord, like you talk about. Like they're a big fan of the man in charge. Yeah.
Well, that's the
That's all I had
dynamic.
to say.
Yeah. No, I think the difference is, Bush was constrained by pretense and by technology. In other words, you know, George W. Bush wanted to maintain the pretense that the Constitution meant something, even though his actions were such that he undermined it constantly. I mean, I still think, I mean, look, we're 1 year into this second Trump term. I think Trump is on pace to be more destructive than George W. Bush. I wouldn't say he is at this point, but they're certainly on pace. They're certainly on pace for that. And I think this is why, because they have no regard for pretense, and they have all of this technology at their disposal in terms of AI and surveillance capabilities that just did not exist back in the early 2000s.
Yeah. I want to touch on that. I also want to touch on what you're saying there in general. I mean, one of the big things that's been weaponized, both Biden and Trump did it, and that's why it's been such a lethal 1-2 punch for the country, is they both weaponized the American financial system, right? Or just the global financial system. Like Biden weaponized SWIFT, gave BRICS a reason to invent their own processing means between banks. So that's a really big problem. That's a really big deal. And then you have Trump come in and say, oh, I'm just going to do 500% tariff on everybody I want. Yeah. And what that is it's a tax on Americans, number one. Number two, it's a threat. Number one, you're not going to implement that. You're going to implement some weird version of it, like with China, right? Like 6 months later after he starts, he's coming back to the original deal and saying the original deal is a win and stuff like this. So, I mean, it's all weaponization.
So Rex, let me ask you a question we get all the time, because it seems like ideologically we're in a similar place. So what's your solution? Because when you don't join any of these teams, that's what people always ask you. Well, so what's your solution?
For sure. Well, my solution would be, number one, I'm a young person and I'm waiting for the crash. And I hope that it happens sooner rather than later. I don't want people to suffer. I don't want people to starve. I don't want people to die. But if we continue on through slow stagnation for another 10, 20 years, it's like Keaton was talking about with the surveillance, which is my other point. Eventually, it's not going to be Zeus getting you blueberries. It's going to be the Optimus robot. Reason for you or Jesus to exist anymore. So we're all fighting about this petty stuff, this petty politic, and they're just building the control grid around us, man. That's what I grew up listening to, hearing about. And it's all true. It's all happening. It's all here. Whenever I see that robot, and I'm not like a Luddite or anything. I don't hate technology, but I'm like, damn, like that's the future. That's what they're bringing in. Because in 10, 20 years, that's going to be you. And when they have 1 million of those, they won't need you at all. So I think the goal of global population reduction is real. I think that these global elites believe in that. I think that everyone worth over a certain amount of money has kind of signed on to that program. Even, he's based. Elon Musk is based. It's incredible. Like, he's the one building the technology. So my solution really is just to make people politically aware of what we're up against. And it's just the stuff I grew up hearing, right? About the technocracy and the techno-feudalism and the control grid and, you know, the genetic engineering and all the crazy stuff that's been going on for a very long time. And I feel like I'm owed a lot from my country, just like every other American. I think we've all been defamed. We've all had these things done in our name, said that they were done at our behest. We declared war on other countries, spent hundreds of billions of dollars in other conflicts, trillions we didn't need to, instead of spending it at home. I just want to broadcast that, because that should be the political consciousness of the entire country. Everyone should just be like, hey, left or right, whatever, we're leaving that behind. My solution is we leave that behind. We actually do something pro us. I know it's not good or whatever, not perfect. I'm 23, but I refuse to live in the sick football game gladiatorial arena anymore. Won't do it.
You're ahead of the curve, my friend, I think. All right, one more segment I want to do with you, because your dad famously infiltrated Bohemian Grove. And Mar-a-Lago is looking a lot like Bohemian Grove nowadays. Eventful 24-hour cycle at Mar-a-Lago. So here is the Jerusalem prayer breakfast at Mar-a-Lago 2 days ago. 2 days ago. Let's take a look at some of this video.
Lord of Satan.
Okay.
I'll mute that in case it gives us a problem for copyright.
Okay, so Iran is a theocracy, and it's bad because they have the supreme leader and they cover the women up or whatever, which isn't even really true. You can look at videos of their malls and documentaries and whatnot. But we get to have a guy blowing 2-yard-long ram horns as a biblical declaration or whatever it is of war, and that's legitimate. In fact, it's based, and it's not based to be against it. It's based to support it. And it's just like these things have no meaning anymore. Like you're telling me that we have to go liberate people when our own country, like we're occupied to the point where a guy's blowing ram horns in the president's hotel. Like it's too much. He really is a riverboat casino captain.
Yes. And it is an occupation. Absolutely. Now, I don't know what this is, but this is the same venue, apparently, within a day. I don't know if this was later that night, if they switched parties out, or maybe these are the same people. Who knows? Let them eat cake. Entertainers wearing dog masks and Rococo-era 18th century European aristocratic court costumes dance for Mar-a-Lago guests at a party this weekend. So people are saying this is, Mar-a-Lago going eyes wide shut. Take a look at this.
And the way you look in the night.
Oh, man. Oh, wow.
guys? What the hell is this?
Oh yeah.
The president's house?
Wow.
You know, there's gonna be one person in there that's on something, just having to deal with that.
What's that?
You know, having to deal with that experience.
Yeah. Look at this.
Yeah, this is not Louis the 16th France at all.
Yeah,
that's RFK and Cheryl Hines under those masks. That's RFK dancing. I'm
at the sign of the times.
I'm all shut up. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And the hypocrisy, because you constantly see things like this where you're like, can you imagine if Biden had done this?
Oh yeah,
what you'd be hearing from the Benny Johnsons and the rest of them and Fox News. They'd be going berserk.
Look at this.
Berserk if the Democrats had a party like this.
I mean, you can't underestimate the amount of political capital that Trump won in 2024 by like beating the indictments, winning the election, beating Kamala, whatever. There are still people who be like, oh, this is based. It's cool. Whatever. Who cares? You don't like people in dog masks? And it's like, well, this is what you voted for?
Yeah, this is what you voted for. Yeah, this is what I voted for.
My cousin is a furry. You got a problem with that?
Yeah. A lot of furries pray to the same God that we pray to. Yeah.
You probably know a bunch of furries. And you don't even know it.
You don't even know it. These are members of the community. I tweeted out, they're fucking the dogs. They're fucking the cats.
I wonder, every culture in decline does this, right? They all do the weird, inbred, obtuse gala with the people dancing around. And like no one, if I went somewhere and they were doing this, I would leave.
It's very strange, and it's very strange that this would get approved for Mar-a-Lago. Like, you know, it's the president's estate. Maybe find another venue if you want to do. If you want to do this, it's just not going to look great to have these freaks in dog masks dancing and a Victorian garb. Like you would think they would manage the optics a little better. I guess they paid well. Maybe they paid better than the Jew horn people here, whatever this is. What is that?
That's
Russell?
powerful right there. That's pure power. That's pure power right there. You got 2 yard long horns, be like, and then every time you blow the horn, you probably get like.
I'm not kidding. That's the ram's horn.
Yeah,
it's a ram's horn.
Yeah, it's a ram's horn. It's traditional. If you go to a synagogue, they're gonna blow that. When do they blow that? Isn't that like the New Year? I think it's like the New Year. They have a whole thing where they blow that. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I've never been to a
it's definitely called a shofar.
Shofar, yeah. So the shofar, yeah. But most of them are not that big, right? They're smaller ones. Those are
Oh no. That's like Lucifer's shofar.
It's Lucifer's shofar.
That's not a normal sized one.
To keep that under glass in Mar-a-Lago.
That's the compensating shofar.
Exactly. All right. Well, hey, Rex, it was great to meet you, man. Thanks so much for making the time. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you and follow you? You got your own show. You are a chip off the old block in the sense that you have genuine broadcasting talent. I always thought your dad was an incredible talent, and you definitely have that. I mean, you're 23. You could tell it's innate in you. Yeah. So tell people where they can find you.
Well, I appreciate it. I feel like I've been stumbling over my words here, and there have been a few things I've been trying to say, but it's so hard. Like, seriously, you guys are my favorite show. You guys are like the tip top for me of what I watch. And I know I tweeted out that my favorite shows are Due Dissidence and Nick Fuentes. I don't really watch Fuentes like that. I maybe catch a couple shows a week, and it's more a fan of the talent and the broadcasting ability. You guys have the best produced show out there, and it's just y'all. Like, you guys put in so much work for this. I can only imagine. So thank you so much for having me on y'all's show. If you're interested in me, if you want to see more from me or more from my show, you can find me on X at Rex Jones News with the Z. So that's REXJONESNEWZ. And preferably, you could subscribe or follow the Gray Area account. So Gray Area Talks on YouTube, on Rumble, on X. It's all the same thing. You can find my show. It's me and Tim Tompkins, my co-host. We do a Thursday and a Sunday show where it's like a 3 to 4 hour. We get a guest, we do a deep dive, we do call-ins, we do all of it. But then 5 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, I am live for 2 hours a day. And that's at 7:30 p.m. So if you're ever bored, you ever want to hop into a live, of course, if these guys are watching, you know, watch them, don't watch me. But just hop in and join it if you want to have fun. And I appreciate everyone hearing me for the first time today. I really am starstruck. I really do love you guys. And it's an honor. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. We'll keep in touch. We will do this again sometime. Appreciate you so much. Gray Area is the show, spelled Gray, right over Rex's head there. Great to meet you, man. Let's keep in touch for sure. Thanks so much for coming on.
Indeed. Thank you both so much.
All righty. Have a good one.
Rex. Great meeting you, man.
Bye-bye.
Great meeting you as well, Russell. Thanks.
You got it. That's Rex Jones, everybody. Round of applause in the chat for Rex Jones. You know, as much shit as we talk about Alex, one thing I got to give Alex, he raised a good kid. Raised a good kid, as they say. You know?
Yeah.
That's what matters. That's what matters.
Right.
So,
yeah. It's a fun interview.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was a lot of fun. That was awesome. Hey, thanks everybody for being here. 1814 live in the YouTube chat. We're up to 655 likes. Let's smash that like button a little more. Let's get a little bigger crowd in here. And over on Rumble, we're at 567. Please do smash that like button. We got Russ here to headbang tonight. So that's good. Yeah, I say tonight. It's today. So it's 1:10 a.m. Look at Russell putting in the time.
It is 1:10 a.m. All right. So you want to see where I came from? Where I came from?
Let's do it.
Right before
you got
this?
the photos ready?
I got them. I
Okay,
got
good.
them. I went to the Muay Thai fights.
Wow.
This is the birthplace. Okay, so they did a lot of like video presentations about the history of Muay Thai. So I think when they say that it's the birthplace of Muay Thai, they mean it's the birthplace of like modern competition, like that version of it. It was pretty interesting because on the one hand, you have this very traditional Thai thing going on where they have like musicians playing traditional Thai music that goes back to the ancient Muay Thai fighters where they would compete to be in the King's Honor Guard. And every fight, the fighters do a dance ritual that goes back to their custom. But at the same time, they've incorporated all these Western elements. So they'll do this, traditional Thai thing. They wear these headbands with religious significance. And then it'll be, black hole sun, won't you come? And coming out in this corner. It's very weird the way these elements are mixed. But there's somebody getting a good kick there.
Wow. Oh, look at that.
Got a picture with one of the fighters, and that's the announcer who has he has the American pattern down. He goes back and forth. He speaks Thai. But then he goes to, and all right, next up on the couch. He's got that whole thing going on. So it was, that was fascinating. That was very interesting.
Awesome. And that was just a few hours ago. Because this is the midnight show for you.
I literally came and dude, it was supposed to end at 9:30. Then I saw other things that it was going to end at 10. They still had another fight coming. I had to leave. I left at 10. It was supposed to be over by then.
Oh wow!
But
So
they were still going, man. They were still going.
Wow.
Still had fights going.
Wow. So it goes all night. All right. You want to take some super chats? I got to copy over the Rumble rants. So let me take some super chats first.
All right. Okay. Me shoot skeet super sticker. Thank you, man. Michael Castillo gifted 1 Due Dissidence membership. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Tony, Indiana, gifted 1 Due Dissidence membership. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Michael, good morning, gentlemen. Rex Jones today and later a debate between Dinesh D'Souza and Dave Smith with Judge Knapp as moderator. I'm so psyched. Is that happening?
Oh, is that happening today? Well, that's a marquee matchup.
I would think Dave will get the better of him. And TerrorBang 5000, I gotta say, man, and nobody get insulted. This is my favorite screen name. Rex Jones, yay. Michael Tracy. He hears that all the time. He's a nerd to it.
Yeah.
Rock McDonald. You two have been the soundtrack to my life as well for the past 3 years or so. Rex gives me hope. Safe travels, Russ. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Snorky. I think of influencer as the giggler in an elevator when all the other passengers are gasping for air.
Right.
Is that from like the horror movie? DC, has anyone seen Kerp and Rex in the same room? Well, you know, now Keaton has actually met Kurt. They're not the same person.
Yeah, I met Kurt Kurt was in town in the capital region. He had some gigs in Saratoga, which were rescheduled from prior dates. I didn't know until it was too late. I wasn't able to go to the gig, but I was able to meet him for lunch, so that was fun.
CEB Applejack, childcare. What are you, a socialist? We live in America.
America. That's right. Boy.
CB Applejack. I used to be pro-life. Then I met vegans. All right. We'll finish out your series there. CEB Applejack. The Talmud told me ages 3 and up are fair game.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard that. And okay, man, because there's so much debate around what's in the Talmud, I decided to try to find a reliable English translation. It's very difficult, man. It's very difficult. It's almost like they don't want you to know what's in it. It's very hard. You have like commentaries on it, but it's hard to find a straight translation. And there are debates about what translation is right or wrong. It's like 20 books. It's like 20 books to read that shit. You gotta be pretty fucking interested, and I'm not that interested.
All right, let's take some Rumble rants here. Russ, you're going to Casson Road to get some dreads.
Yeah, okay, man. So I've only got a few more days here. I feel like I got to go up that tower and go on the glass balcony to respect myself as a man. So I'm trying to make some room for that. And yeah, I mean, I guess I got to go to the Backpacker Row to say I did it. Needless to say, I'm really not all that interested in it. But, you know, like, I guess I'll squeeze it in somewhere. But Sunday's I got a 12-hour tour, man. I'm going out to the bridge over the River Kwai.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. Wow, what a time. So, yeah, Sunday, Russ will miss it. That'll be the last show Russ misses for a while. Then he'll be back in the chair for a while after that. But we got a great lineup on Sunday. We have Katie Halper will be joining for the first half of the show on Sunday. And then the second half of Sunday's show will be joined by Kyle Anzalone from antiwar.com. So we got 2 great guests lined up for Sunday night. That should be a lot of fun while Russ is out touring Thailand.
All right. So let me just say this. All right. So I didn't get it together really for Bangkok. And I got to figure out how I'm going to do this, because given our relationship to certain foreign countries, and particularly one foreign country, it might not be the best idea for me to go on there and be like, I'm going to be at this place.
Right.
This time. So I'm trying to figure out how to handle that. Like, I do want to meet up with you all. So I think what I'm going to do is have people who want to meet me when I'm in a place email, and I will like respond to the email of like, okay, we'll meet up there. I think that's a little safer than just being like, hey,
yeah, I'll be here.
Hey, Mossad.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Time and place.
So in terms of your question, yes, when I'm in Chiang Mai, I'll have thought this through better. So I'll solicit emails and I'll arrange someplace. I'm there for like 9 days, so I have a lot of time to arrange that.
Awesome. Stoop Sign says, I think Rex Jones is piggybacking off Gray Zone with Gray Area. Yeah, an area and a zone are similar. Areas and zones are kind of similar. Blank State, please ask Rex if he's familiar with Bill Hicks. I'm sure he's heard the Bill Hicks, Alex Jones theory probably hundreds, if not thousands of times. Thank you for that, though. Vienticus Prime, everything's a scam, everything's a lie. Are you enjoying yourself there, Russ? Have you found your special lady guy? Ha! Good one. Good rhyme. Twist. Stoop Sign says, I walk around with a vest of live children just in case someone wants to fucking try me in the glorious name of Allah. Praise be his name. Stoop Sign, I remember not much else about him, but I remember Alex Jones hates the English. He threatened to fight Piers Morgan. Yeah, that's right. He called him a redcoat when he had him on CNN. All right. Didn't he call him a redcoat to his face, I think? Vienticus Prime says, to quote myself like the asshole I am, people consider morality as some lofty notion. But what is morality if not simply just talk or implication of perceived benefits and detriment? Thank you. All right. We will continue on with the show. So, Russ, we're going to do your segment first. Let me just test these videos to see if I have to reload them because the one didn't work until I reloaded.
Turn to Iran.
Okay, good. That one works. And that one works. Okay, good. All right. Very well. All right. Trump versus the working man.
Okay, Trump, man of the people, went out and communicated with the public in his own inimitable fashion. Watch, Trump shows his middle finger and appears to say, F you. It's early in the video. I don't want to get it demonetized.
That was
After
good awareness
Ford
on your part. I was very
worker-
impressed. Usually I have to edit around you forgetting that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
nice work.
After Ford worker yells, fan of the playground protector.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. Yeah, he didn't like the sound of that.
Imagine Obama did that. I mean, this is the thing. Like, imagine if it were on the other foot. Imagine Barack Obama screamed at a white worker, "Fuck you!
Yeah.
Fuck you, motherfucker!"
Fuck you, TPP, bringing jobs. Fuck you.
I'll put
You'll
my
see.
foot in the crack of your ass.
I'm going to a greasy spoon with Bruce Springsteen now. I'm a man of the people.
Yeah.
So yeah, this from the Washington Post. White House Communications Director Stephen Chung confirmed that the scene captured in the video was authentic. Quote, a lunatic was wildly screaming expletives in a complete fit of rage, and the president gave an appropriate and unambiguous response, Chung said in a statement to the Washington Post.
It was a perfect statement.
He was a lunatic. He was a lunatic. See, I hate this shit coming from Democrats. It's basically a variation on safetyism. Right? He's a lunatic.
Crazy.
Screaming. He's crazy. He's crazy. TJ Sabala, a 40-year-old United Auto Workers local 600 line worker at the factory, told the Post that he was the one who shouted at Trump. He said he had been suspended from work pending an investigation. Quote, as far as calling him out, definitely no regrets whatsoever, Sabala said, though he added that he is concerned about the future of his job and believes he has been targeted for political retribution for embarrassing Trump in front of his friends. Sabala identifies as politically independent and said he never voted for Trump but has supported other Republicans. He estimated that he was roughly 60 feet away from Trump on Tuesday and that the president could hear him, quote, very, very, very clearly. He said he was specifically referencing Trump's handling of the Epstein matter. Quote, I don't feel as though fate looks upon you often, and when it does, you better be ready to seize the opportunity, Sabala said. And today, I think I did that. And look at the United Auto Workers Union actually standing up for one of their workers. It's nice to see. The auto worker at the Dearborn truck plant is a proud member of a strong and fighting union, the UAW. He believes in freedom of speech, a principle we wholeheartedly embrace, and we stand with our membership in protecting their voice on the job. The UAW will ensure that our member receives the full protection of all negotiated contract language safeguarding his job and his rights as a union member. Workers should never be subjected to vulgar language or behavior by anyone, including the President of the United States. You know, that actually sounds like a union. That actually sounds like a union. Good job, guys.
Right, yeah.
So here's some of the brain trust here who feel that he did something wrong. Patriotic Suzanne, who I understand lives in Bangladesh. Your worker was the one using disrespectful language to the President of the United States.
She was at the Muay Thai fight with you.
She was in the next seat ordering the pad thai. He should be fired. I'll remember this when I get my next vehicle. I own a Ford SUV. My husband owns a Ford F-150. We'll look elsewhere for our new vehicles this year. And Starship Alves, freedom of speech isn't disrespecting your company's invited guest. If they worked for me, they would be fired on the spot. And then this was a very nice response to all this. I used to hate cancel culture, but now I use it to defend Trump and the pedophiles he's protecting. Yeah, that's pretty the size of it. All of a sudden, these guys love canceling. They love cancel culture. They love it now. Now here's the kind of heartwarming part of this story. So you might have thought the Give, Send, Go is only for racist white women. Shiloh Hendricks made a big bundle there. This kind of like Timu Shiloh Hendricks didn't do quite as well, but she did all right.
The Cinnabon one.
The Cinnabon racist. She made about 100K from what I heard.
Keep squeezing that caramel, bitch.
Yeah. but hey, TJ Sabala's GoFundMe here. At the time this was posted, had only raised $21,000, but one of the early donors was the Dropkick Murphys with $500 early donation to this. Now, by the time I looked when I was preparing this segment this afternoon, it was up to 480,000. Well, my 480,935. And here's a little bit of the language in the fundraiser. TJ is a father of 2 young children, husband, and is a proud United Auto Workers Local 600 line worker. Funds donated will support TJ and his family to cover expenses during this time of uncertainty. As the organizer, I am a longtime political friend of the Sabala family. All funds will go directly to them. Okay, so now what's the difference between this and the racist white women? This guy didn't even set up a fundraiser for himself. See, now if you're a grifting, bottom-feeding scumbag, the first thing you're going to think when you go viral for something like this is, wow, I could really cash in now that I got suspended.
Right.
Guy didn't even think of it, but it gets better. So these updates are about transferring control to TJ. So update, I'm working on transferring this donation project to TJ. I'm in direct contact with TJ. And then finally, TJ and I were able to successfully get this fundraiser transferred to his name and control. Thanks so much to everyone that has contributed. Here's the most amazing part of this. He shuts it down. Once he gets control of it, he shuts it down. And I don't know how this works because the total amount of money dropped. I don't know if he refused donations at a certain cutoff point, but other ones had already been processed because there's a lower number than it was when I looked at it earlier after he stopped the donations. And what does he say? TJ and his family greatly appreciate the outpouring of support. At this time, we are closing donations to this campaign and encourage you to look for other causes and organizations to support. We appreciate every single donation, comment, share, and sign of support. Now, you see the difference between a decent person and a grifting, racist, cracker cunt? You see the difference between those two things? Because you see how as soon as he got control of the fundraiser, he shut it down. He didn't want to take more of people's money. He probably could have milked this for another $250,000 easily.
Oh,
easily. and he shut it down. And it looks like that actually cost him money. But tell me some more about. I just donated $50 to But here's look, man. We can't say if this is true. There's an interesting little side note on this. According to Lincoln Square, our Detroit staff has received reports from Ford workers that the president's body odor was, quote, like bad breath mixed with feces. I can't describe it, but I'll never forget it. Yikes.
Yeah.
Wow. Sandy Backham. Bad breath and feces. Can you imagine the people that hang out with him all day long, or foreign leaders, heads of state? I mean, everybody knows. Now, this is one of those things. Is it like the J.D. Vance fucking the couch thing, or is it real? Because we've heard this for a long time, that Trump has this just unbelievably overpowering body odor.
I never heard that before.
Oh, you never heard that?
No, I never heard that before.
Oh, yeah. No, that's been out there for a while, that like he smells like he's wearing a diaper or something, like he smells like shit. Like there's some kind of over.
I've never heard that.
Just odor. You never heard that?
No, I never did.
Yeah, man. Hey, we report, you decide. I'm just passing along the information that supposedly the Ford workers also claim that this guy smells like feces and bad breath and just smells unbelievably bad. Now, listen, my theory about this, a lot of people have observed Donald Trump has preternatural energy and stamina, and he has, very bizarre good fortune, and he seems to be able to thwart everything that comes after him. These are all signs that you may have sold your soul to the devil. So that might be what people are smelling. He may be rotting from the inside as part of his contract with Satan. So people might be smelling the bowels of hell literally in his bowels. That may be the explanation. That's
like
my
the movie
theory.
The Substance, where you make a
right.
deal.
Yeah,
exactly.
Rotting out from the inside.
Right, like a David Cronenberg type thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Could be that. Yeah, no, what an interaction. What an interaction. I mean, you'd think you'd just ignore him, rather than scream back, fuck you. Fuck you.
Well,
but no, he is not a turn the other cheek kind of
not
guy.
This president. Not on his watch.
President. Not on his watch is some union worker going to quite rightly point out that he's a pedophile protector. Actually, right. I mean, when I first heard it, I thought this guy was going to get taken out by Michael Tracy. Yeah, right. Exactly.
better watch out.
Yeah. All right. Let's move right on along here. Hey, folks.
That is crazy that this guy raised all that money.
Yeah,
hasn't he read the documents? Well, maybe you should read the documents before brings down to Donald Trump.
There'll be an expose. Maybe that'll be a 3-part expose on this guy on the Tracy Substack. That could be something. A word from one of our sponsors here, a bard and a guitar. He has sponsored the show for a long time. He promoted a previous album of his on our show, but he's got a new one. The previous one was called Dogmatics. This is a follow-up to that one. It's called to my favorite politicians. And it's a musical comedy album inspired by the 2024 election. Features Red versus Blue, a pop-punk jam that explores the two parties, the people who look to them for answers, the commentators who cheerlead for them, and the ones who are caught in the middle. Yeshua is a pop song that argues Jesus was possibly a commie libertarian. One Asshole, Two Cheeks is a romantic ballad, a love letter to Trump and Obama. Natural Born Killers, a jazzy track about baby killers. Well, not babies that kill, but killers of babies. Econ 101, a hip-hop verse about economics, and more. You can find love songs to my favorite politicians by a bard and a guitar on most streaming services and YouTube. So if you go to duedissidence.com/bard, you can get a link to his Spotify or his Apple Music or the YouTube music, wherever you get your music. Please do go and check that Ouch. We're going to be starting a new sponsorship with a friend of the show, Professor Zenkus, has a musical project that we're going to be doing ad reads for. We'll start that campaign, looks like Sunday night. So that'll be cool. That'll be cool. And I got to bring him on for one of the guest host spots while you're in China, for sure. Go ahead.
All right, hang on. I'm going to take care of something for you because I've been seeing this for like 2 years. Nobody cares, Fred. Nobody cares.
I always say front slash.
Doesn't care.
No.
I don't care. Literally, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Just
stop. Maybe it's my term. Maybe I call it that. Maybe I call it that. Maybe that's the term. Maybe I coined it.
Yeah.
And so what do they call it? Slash? They call it forward slash. Forward slash.
In 100 years, everyone's going to call it front
slash. Yeah.
Yeah.
Forward slash is what they usually call it, right?
Yeah. That's how language evolves.
Yeah. Forward slash. Yeah. That's how language evolves. That's right. That's right. That's my Shakespearean flourish is front slash, right?
That's
exactly.
Keaton is so advanced in his use of language, he's able to invent words like Shakespeare, man. He's laying down mad beats.
He's
laying down mad rhymes.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So just roll with it. Just roll with it, man.
Let's see.
We're never going to stop.
Never going to stop. I'll never stop.
8 million times.
I'll never stop.
In fact, we're going to call our first joint book the front slash Bible.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Stoop Sign says, I was just talking to recently hired ICE guys anonymously, and a moment dawned on me. These guys are just all repo men of the oligarchs. Yep. You know how hard it is to blow 2 ram horns at once. It's easier to blow 2 rams at once. Yeah, that is true. That probably is true, Stoop Sign. Eric Rousseau says there's no leash laws in Florida. Good one. Spay and neuter your elites. That's right. Niz RG, dude, I freaking love this guy. It's crazy. Fat Alex got me through the Bush years. Awesome to see his son picking up the anti-establishment mantle. Yeah, he's great. He's great.
Yeah, it's cool, man.
Nina Can says billionaire dogs got a Zardo's elite vibe. Thanks, Nina. Blank State. Rex should definitely be considered for a co-host fill-in. Great guest. Yeah, when Russ is in China,
I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, boom. Right there.
There we go. Boom. Absolutely. Can make that happen. Ravid Lash, Trump, speaking of blowing horns, everybody know Bill plays a mean sax, but no one plays the flute like I do. Just ask Bill. I play the flute better than any Hillary or Monica ever did. Thank you, Ravid Laz. All right, you got some super chats?
Sure do. Oh, guys, you're going to be very happy. You're going to be very happy. This is going to come up in a moment here. All right. French Laundry. Sorry for not super chatting recently. It's been broke boy season during winter layoffs. Hey, you got nothing to apologize for. We are very glad you're here. Thank you.
That's right.
Gray Scout Epsilon. There's a battle between good and evil playing out. Zionism is evil. War is evil. Genocide is evil. Those supporting human suffering are evil. Trump and that bald little goofball ate drunk on power. Yeah, man. Things are pretty grim. Things are grim. I ain't gonna lie. Jerry Chowiat. I wonder if Rex knows his dad is actually Bill Hicks.
I'm sure he's heard the theories.
He's gonna have to get a DNA test. Poor Owen can't get a word in.
Yeah, Alex was on a tear that day. I watched that. I was listening to that in my car while I was driving upstate at 5 a.m. I caught that live.
Mar-a-Lago furries reminiscent of BJ apparitions in The Shining, perverse elites.
It does look like the BJs in The Shining people. Yeah, it does.
All right.
The Eyes Wide Shut meets The Shining, 2 Kubrick films, oddly enough.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
What did he know?
That's
what
right.
did he know?
That's
All right. So I'm banging this out just so I can show you because I said I could get these things here, and I did. Dark Matter Zombies 100.
Landrew. There you go. Look at that. Beautiful. We got it. Done.
And actually, okay,
Done did it.
so,
Oh, look at this too. Wow, look at this.
So the woman who sold me this showed me how to actually do it properly.
Okay. Yeah, then you run a ring around it.
You got to keep the hand open.
Wow.
See, I was keeping it.
Oh,
like
because
too
you're choking
close.
the sound. Yeah, there you go.
Had to be like that.
All right,
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
it.
Have we traveled back in time to 1934? The brown shirts are everywhere. Yes, he murdered her. Fucking A. When Palestine is free, we all will be free. Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, Landrew.
Thank you,
Appreciate that.
Landrew. I will get your sound drop while Keaton does the rumble rounds.
All right. Before I do that, we're at 860 likes. And we're at 1975 on YouTube. We're almost there. 25 more for a 1999 sound drop. We are almost there. Smash that like button. That'll help us get there. Thank you all very much. Let's take some Rumble Rants. Nujoma. So, Rambutri is the new Cow Road. Judy Denmark say, I admit I was prepared to dislike Rex Jones. Shame on me. You bastards are screwing with my prejudices. Love you anyway. Yeah, go subscribe to the show. Does a good show.
Landrew is dead.
I like his co-host too. It's good. All right. Let's move right on along here. All right, folks. So as war with Iran, regime change in Iran seems more and more imminent, we're starting to see a little bit of a pattern emerge. You're starting to see some doofuses in the media think they're owning the pro-Palestine activists by pointing out that we're not bloodthirsty for the Ayatollah and that we're not chomping at the bit for regime change in Iran. So Piers Morgan thinks he's really smart here. He says, fascinating to observe the almost total silence from loudly pro-Palestinian celebrities and media figures, i.e. the courageous Iranian protesters, risking their lives for freedom and democracy. Suggests their hatred of Israel overrides intellectual honesty and principle. No, actually, hatred of Israel is totally consistent with intellectual honesty and principle. And as we will get into, but it bears repeating, the Mossad has bragged about their involvement in these Iran protests. So it's not a suspicion that they're involved. They've actually announced, I mean, that's how arrogant they are. An intelligence agency announcing, hey, we've infiltrated this protest. We're with them on the ground. So Nick Cruz has a great clapback. He says, Palestine is being denied statehood while being slaughtered for fighting for statehood using my taxpayer money. Iran is already a state whose affairs are none of my business. How is this hard to understand? Are you really this stupid? Well, you be the judge. He had a panel on. Glenn Greenwald is on this panel, and he asks Glenn essentially the same question. Very proud of his tweet. Let's see what Glenn has to say.
To Iran, and let's start with you, Glenn, on Iran. You know, I posted today something I've just been thinking about this week, which is that there's been a kind of deafening silence from Hollywood. Like the Golden Globes came and went in the middle of all this with no celebrity mentioning the Iranian protesters. Very few high-profile media people who've been very vocal about what's happened, for example, in Gaza, have said anything about it either. And to me, there is a moral hypocrisy and cowardice going on here. And it's linked to the fact that in their heads, they believe this is all benefiting Israel, that Israel's tentacles are clearly involved here in fomenting the protests and encouraging America to take action and so on, which may well all be true.
No, it not may well be true. It is true. It is true. The Mossad literally, this is from Twitter, Mossad says, we are with you, not just from afar and verbally, we are with you in the field as well. They are literally saying we are on the ground at these protests. Okay, so it is not speculation. It's not something that may be true. It's literally true that Israel has infiltrated, if not orchestrated, these protests. So that is not a hypothetical, that is real. And of course, why wouldn't we be opposed to the protests on those grounds alone? On the grounds that they benefit the greater Israel project, that is grounds enough to, at the very least, not tout the sort of noble aims of this resistance movement. So he tosses to Glenn now.
But it doesn't change the fact that, to me, it's warped their humanity from queuing up and protesting in large numbers about what's happening in Gaza, quite rightly, but zero complaint or protests or offers of sympathy or empathy to the Iranian protesters.
Okay, now we're going to hear from the Iranian diaspora stooge on the right in a few minutes. But notice Piers doesn't ask her the same. Like you could just as easily frame it in the other way. You can ask, because it just so happens that almost everyone to a person who supports these Iran protests were completely indifferent to the genocide in Gaza. But you won't hear people frame it that way to them. Hey, why are you expressing so much concern over these protesters who are being killed, but you have no sympathy for the Palestinians who are being killed by Israel? Notice we don't really hear it framed in that way.
What do you say to that?
I couldn't disagree with that more for two reasons. First of all, Americans protest what their government does because that's what they can influence. They protested the Vietnam War that the U.S. was waging. They protested U.S. support for the apartheid regime of South Africa because that's what the U.S. was doing. They protest the U.S. support and financing and arming of Israel's destruction of Gaza because that was what the United States was doing. The United States isn't supporting Iran. What would these protests? What would their impact be? The reason why people protest is because they want their government to change their policy. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I think most people understand, although it's completely excluded from Western elite political and media discourse, that the United States and Great Britain love tyranny of this kind. The United States and Great Britain not just do business with, but prop up and keep in power some of the worst, most repressive, savage tyrannies on the planet in Saudi Arabia, in the United Arab Emirates, in Egypt, in all kinds of countries in that region, in Uganda, in Rwanda. Why aren't people going out on the street and protesting that? And nobody asks about that. And I think the reason is because the argument here, what's really driving this concern about Iran is not that we're so concerned about repression and tyranny because we're such great humanitarians, because the U.S. has done more to remove democratically elected governments and install dictatorships than the other way around. It's because Iran is viewed as a geopolitical enemy of the United States and Israel, and that's why so few people care about repression in our greatest allies in Saudi Arabia and Egypt and the like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you notice it's a pattern. They only want you to protest in favor of causes that help the West achieve its aims, right? Very selective about, well, you're protesting the genocide in Gaza. Why aren't you supporting the Iranian resistance protesters? And if you were to protest the genocide in Yemen at the hands of the Saudis, it's okay, well, why aren't you for the Ukrainians? They always try and gatekeep in that way. They always say, well, why are you paying attention to this atrocity and not that one? Notice the only ones they ever want you protesting against are the ones that interfere with the Western plot for the new 21st century. That's where they want your attention focused. And in this case, it's such a ridiculous question for the two reasons that Greenwald lays out there. Why would we be invested in the governmental structure of Iran, which is a sovereign state? As Nick said, right. Palestine is being denied statehood. They're being denied autonomy. It's an imprisoned, colonized population with no ability to govern itself. That's why we're for a free Palestine. Iran is already free to the extent that it's a sovereign nation. At that point, their internal affairs are their business. It's the simplest thing in the world, but the emotional manipulation of these people is just nonstop.
This is the first time in a while. It's not as bad as Ukraine because a Democrat isn't in charge. If a Democrat were in charge, it would be. But yeah, man, I mean, you're seeing that the libs wanting to jump on this as yes, we have to support the Iranian. Listen. I'm not going to say that Iran doesn't have its problems. I think that given the media filter that we have here, I don't think we're in much of a position to judge accurately what those problems are. But setting all that aside, half your fucking kids are on medications, are on psychological medications. Do you really feel like you're in a position to evaluate how other people should live around the world? Do you really feel like our model is doing so fucking well that you're in a position to tell other countries how they should be governed? Have all the seats, America. Any notion that you might have that you're fucking better than anybody is increasingly ridiculous. Like, yeah, man, Iran has its problems. America has incredible problems. Incredible problems. Many of the problems that America has are problems that other places have. And then you also don't have healthcare and education on top of those kinds of problems of poverty, of neglected rural areas. A lot of places have those problems, but then they don't have those other. You have those other. You're going to run around and start talking about, yes, the Iranians. You're in a position to tell other people what they need when you have such a clearly insane and dysfunctional society that is extremely abusive and destructive to the people who live in it. For whatever cause you want to attribute that to, you don't wind up with a society with that many people on fucking psychotropic medications if the society is doing well. That's a sick society. You're in no position to be lecturing anybody.
Well, sure. And the whole pretense that this is born of humanitarian concern for the Iranian people. I love how Piers just kind of brushes past. Yeah, I mean, they think Israel wants it, and that may be all well and true. Okay, well, Israel is the country that just did a genocide for the last 2 years. Israel is the country that's been chomping at the bit for regime change in Iran for the past couple of decades. They tried to do it back in June. I warned everybody, hate to be right about this, but here we are. I warned everybody it was not over. They were going to go for it again. Here we are. So how does that concern take a back seat to the supposed humanitarian concern for the Iranian people yearning to be free when, as Glenn says there, we support authoritarian regimes all around the world?
Right.
So it doesn't even make sense on its own terms. You have to just completely strip yourself of all judgmental faculties in order to absorb that and be like, why haven't the pro-Palestine people spoken out for the people of Iran yet? I mean, it's just completely brain dead.
Well, and as Glenn points out, I mean, we're fucking allies with countries that have all of the problems that you're imparting to Iran, and then some. UAE, Saudi Arabia. It's all, I mean, this is how propaganda works. I hate to say this, but I believe it's true. As a tribal species, as a social species with an hierarchical social structure, most people are programmed to be conformist. I believe that. I believe most people are programmed to follow whatever they're told. That's how propaganda works. So you tell them this is what you're supposed to care about, and they will go along with it as a way of signaling that they are conforming to what they're supposed to believe, because otherwise you get exiled or you get thrown out of the group and then you'll die, right? So they don't feel confident enough that they could survive on their own. That's the core instinct at the heart of that kind of slavish conformity that I think most people display. It's the fear of, I think of evolutionary fear that you're going to die if you don't show that you belong, right? And propaganda plays on that instinct by creating a psychological environment where people believe this is what you're supposed to believe, and you have to signal that you believe it. And that's when you get these people posting about it. What's the purpose of that? What is the purpose of that? You care that much about that? Like, you really care? No, it's to say, I care about that. I'm one of you. I'm with you. What I'm supposed to believe? Yes, I believe it.
Right. Exactly. So Glenn Greenwald was on Piers Morgan, and he was confronted with the most absurd of points you can imagine by the Iran war propagandist on the right-hand side. I forget her name. But she floats that the Iranian government has killed just as many protesters in Iran as Israelis have killed Palestinians in Gaza over the last 2 years. She actually speculates that, and Glenn kind of jumps on that immediately.
Do you feel there is a double standard in the way this is being treated?
Absolutely. There is a huge hypocrisy in the way that most people in the West have even paid attention to what's going on in Iran over the last 2 weeks. In just 3
Okay, so Piers asks her, do you think there's a double standard? Meaning, do you think pro-Palestine people are wrongfully turning a blind eye to the crimes being committed allegedly by the Iranian government against protesters? Now, in the previous segment, he asks Glenn Greenwald the exact same question. Now, if you're asking a pro-Israel person, you could just as easily flip it on its head and say, hey, you are expressing such concern for the Iranian people, yet you had no concern for the Palestinians in Gaza, but he doesn't. He frames this question the exact same way he framed it as a challenge to Greenwald. He frames as a softball to her. So let's hear her answer. Let's hear her answer. This is astounding.
There is a double standard in the way this is being treated.
Absolutely. There is a huge hypocrisy in the way that most people in the West have even paid attention to what's going on in Iran over the last 2 weeks. In just 3 days, we don't have an exact death toll, but it could be more people than have been killed in Gaza in over the 3 years that we had that war, 2.5 years that we had that war. But why are you saying, oh my God? I mean, can I speak?
No,
with this
sorry. Please, go ahead. But that is just
the fact that
you
are
shouldn't
so
just invent statistics. You shouldn't just invent. You're not.
Yeah, it's funny when people just lie, and then when you cut them off, they're like, "Can I speak?" No, you can't speak. You can't just lie unchecked, and then 3 minutes later, I have to trust myself to remember all the lies you told. You have to fact check lies in real time, otherwise they get passed off as truth. You just make up a completely unhinged thing, like as many Iranians have been killed as Gazans, and then they cut you off to correct it. Like, can I speak? No, bitch, you can't speak because you're lying. It has to be corrected in real time.
Hang on, she's Israeli or Iranian?
She's Iranian. She's an Iranian. But they are very Zio coded. Notice all of these free Iran people kind of come off as Israelis, don't they?
You're not privileged. Where do you live? You're not privileged.
I'm talking about the Iranian people. I will never take away from the fight of the Iranian people because of where I sit. You know why I do what I do?
I'm not taking away from the Iranian people. I just don't want people to lie about them, and I don't want my government intervening militarily.
Showing my hair and not losing my life for it.
See.
That's where I feel privileged. This whole conversation, Piers, points to
You're
one
totally
thing.
Privileged. You're totally privileged. So don't use that as an argument to weaponize.
Why are you speaking over me? You don't want to hear what I
made an accusation.
Because you're a ridiculous liar.
Time out. Hang on 1 second. Let's not all talk at the same time. I think we can say this. I think Lisa, hang on. Let's just get to some reported facts as we understand them. In Gaza, it has been reported widely that the death toll is around 70 to 80,000. Now, that is a matter of conjecture. People say it could be higher. Some have said it may be too high. But that is the general accepted
reports
number.
Came out that
but we're talking about that.
And most of those were
okay,
terrorists.
but that's a period.
That's completely untrue.
We have to talk facts.
Lisa, let me finish my point. Lisa, let me finish.
Those lives don't matter.
But Glenn might be, I think he's understandably saying, hang on a second, you got to say glibly, not you are being glib, but just to throw out there the idea that 70,000 people have been killed. We just don't know that. So I think that
can I pick up where 40, we don't even have to focus on the last 2 weeks. Why don't we focus on 47 years? Thousands and thousands have been killed for a mere Facebook post, for showing their hair.
Well, there you go. Again, then she goes on a rant about how horrible it is to live in Iran for the past 47 years. So you're basically showing your hand. So that whole point about the genocide was really not relevant. You're basically saying, no, I'm an Iranian regime change propagandist because I think that the people of Iran need to be free. And if that just happens to coincide with the Greater Israel Project, then so be it. They're talking about putting a guy, Reza Pahlavi, who's lived in Maryland for the past 50 fucking years in charge of Iran. Like, how naked can it be? Like, how mask off can it be? That's who should rule Iran? A guy who hasn't lived there in 50 years? Now you're going to say, well, he was exiled. Yeah, he was exiled because his father was a brutal dictator, oddly enough, right? So it's just so mask off. It's just I've never quite seen it so out in the open like this. And even when under pressure, she's like, okay, yeah, forget it. I guess I did totally pull that Gaza stat out of my ass. The people of Iran are being oppressed, and they need to be free. But this is exactly what Israel has wanted since, well, before 9/11. That's what they've advocated for very, very loudly since 9/11. And now they're going for it. And if a shock and awe invasion isn't the way to get it, then these kinds of color revolutions are always a tactic. That this is always a trick they have up their sleeve. Now they're doing it openly to the point where Mossad says, "Hey, we are on the ground. We are with you." I mean, it doesn't get any more naked than that. But you also, I mean, you see this. There's a pattern here, folks. If you haven't noticed, I just received this, says Mark Levin. Just spoke with a friend who managed to reach Iraqi Kurdistan. This is what he told me. The number of people killed is far higher than 12,000. The massacre is beyond horrific. The regime is close to succeeding in crushing the uprising through unchecked violence. The brutal cold is another decisive factor. People simply cannot stay in the streets longer. If help does not arrive today, or at the very least by tomorrow, the game is over. I like Nick's clapback. Only 12K? What are you, a propagandist for the Iranian regime? Everyone knows over 6 million have died thus far. Holocaust denialism. Yeah, it's the same thing. Same thing. Breaking, says Persian Girl. A source inside Iran just informed me that the death count in Iran is now close to 70,000 innocent people, and over 20,000 of casualties are children. Oops, I meant Israel. My bad. Yeah, to me, the interrogation comes in the other direction. You notice that every genocide denier over the past few years is playing up the death toll in these protests now. So to me, if there's hypocrisy to be interrogated, it's in that direction. Not this one. I don't think there's anybody, broadly speaking, in our space who thinks that peaceful protesters ought to be killed. I don't think there's anyone who thinks that. Now, of course, a lot of these protests, as has been widely reported, are not peaceful. I mean, these are pretty violent protesters. But to the extent that innocent people are being killed, right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're foreign agitators. Now, to the extent that innocent people are caught up in that and killed, I don't know of anyone who is for that. Our argument is that the internal affairs of other countries are not our business, and that this is basically an astroturfed foreign influence operation / color revolution / Israeli coup. And so it's a lot more complicated than how outrageous that this violence is being perpetrated against people. On the other side, though, it's very simple. The Gaza genocide is extraordinarily simple. And yet the same voices who denied that for 2 years want us to have such a simplistic view of this. It's quite extraordinary. And the coup de grace, of course, the man himself, Van Jones, the world needs a free Iran.
Peace, if you like peace, and if you like democracy, and if you like women being free, and if you like innovation, unleash these Persians.
Unleash these Persians, says Van Jones. Wow. Every time we think he hits a new low, he sinks lower and makes himself available for sellout of the year.
Yeah, it is amazing how all these people, particularly people like Van Jones, who 2 minutes ago was making dead Gaza baby jokes.
Yeah, exactly.
All of a sudden it found some kind of moral center.
Right.
Empires just deciding that might makes right. That's nothing new. But the idea of an empire that feels no particular need to justify it beyond that,
right?
That is kind of new.
Yeah.
The British Empire was very much premised on the idea that we're bringing civilization to the benighted people of the world, right? The white man's burden, all of that. There's some kind of a moral vision. Even going back to ancient Rome, there was an underlying belief in their own cultural superiority that if you're talking about achievement in architecture and engineering was pretty justified relative to everyone around them at that time.
Right.
What the fuck are we talking about? Like what?
No, it's just
like
take their
what?
shit. Take
It's
their
just,
shit, bro.
it's just naked,
Yeah.
take their shit. It's just gang violence.
Yeah,
It's like gang violence on this epic scale. There is, some vague noise about democracy. I mean, that's fucking filthy whore Van Jones's job to mouth these platitudes and use his skin to give plausible deniability to white power structures. But to go on about we're going to bring Iran democracy, you got we were talking about doing this as a segment, but we had other things to do. But I talked about this with Kathy Hochul, where she talked about if Mamdani had a wealth tax, the millionaires were going to leave. I said, well, that may very well be true. What you're conceding at that point is that we need a revolution. Now, Gavin Newsom is doing the same thing with California. See, I told you it's crazy to do this wealth tax. The billionaires are leaving. And I say again, you are making an argument for revolution. If what you are saying is that the system is so fragile that you cannot pass policies through democratic means. And in California, you're talking about a referendum, so it can't be more democratic than that, right? The people have to vote for this to pass. If you're saying that the system is set up in such a way that a few people, literally a few people, could fuck your economy by leaving, what you've got yourself is a failed system. You certainly don't have a democracy, right? The people vote for it. They can't get it without horrific consequences because these people are going to leave. Well, now you need a revolution. You need a revolution. Like every time these people say this, it's with this underlying suggestion, well, we can't have a wealth tax because the rich people will leave. And so what? We just leave it there? Okay, well, so you've just presented an argument for a revolution. Or isn't that the next step? Are you saying we should just continue to live hostage to these people in that way? This is the system that we're going to export to other people. This is the democracy that we're going to export to Iran, which will very much be like Iran under the Shah. You bring back in the Shah and you've got a wealthy upper strata that tortures anybody that defies the regime.
Yeah, of course. And that's what existed before. That's what existed all throughout Latin America before. They overhauled those systems. Right. And so obviously, but at this point, I don't even think, like the liberals are talking about exporting a certain democracy and really painting this as liberation for the people there. And Trump has talked about how the protesters are being very badly treated as what's going on in Minnesota is going on here. But for the most part, you don't even see that. But if for the most part, you don't even really see that. Especially in like the right wing commentariat now. I don't know if you saw Andrew Tate. I did that with Kit, but he just comes on and says, "Take their shit. Take their shit. What are they going to fucking do about it?" Matt Walsh said the same thing. There is no international law. Big countries have always dominated smaller ones. And so there's nothing more to it than that. That is really the dominant message that you're hearing is we should do this because we can do this. Right. And if it gets us cheaper gas, then why wouldn't we do it? Right. So, yeah, it's very, very soulless.
That's very odd in the history of the world. I can't really think of another example where an empire just was kind of like, yeah, no, we don't need a justification. Like they'll vaguely mouth stuff about America, but I mean they don't really mean that or back it up. I mean they just it's almost like by rote. Yeah, America, but I mean, you ask them why they're doing what they're doing. If you would ask a Brit at the height of the British Empire, they could have given you a very clear explanation of how this is much better for Indians. Do you know what it was like before we came? They didn't even have courts, right? They would have had ask an American, what are you bringing to these people? KFC? Like, what are you bringing
exactly.
to them?
All right. Spec 421 says, because of his honor of stopping the GoFund account, I'll let go of his sunglasses taste to keep it, fellas. Thank you. Professor Brown notes, Stephen Miller's ancestors must be so proud of the little one's own Sturmabteilung. Thank you. I don't know how to say that word. Poor multitasking and autocorrect truly exposes my humble stupidity. Keep it up, fellas. I figured. Vienticus says, one thing that always makes me laugh is how people point to Iranians saying death to America only to show that they themselves don't understand the notion of colloquialisms. I'll again point to how stupid the term politically homeless is. My fucking principles are my fucking home. What the fuck do I need someone else's rat-infested shithole for? Political ideologies are windowless vans with candy for adults to their come and join us. We're the good guys. We're the only ones who do good things. Yeah, fuck you. Thanks, Vienticus. You're a little angry today, Vienticus. And make sure you give some new Italian emphasis on that last fuck you, Keaton. Fuck you. Hey, fuck you. All right, you got some super chats over there?
Yes, we do.
Oops, what the hell happened? Something happened. I guess the Mossad are in Thailand as well. That's it. That's it for Russell. Here we go. All right. Well, hey, I mean, it was a pleasure knowing you. You were a good man. He was a great guy. We'll all miss him very much. I don't know how
all right,
I'll
so
carry on the show. Oh, he's back. Oh,
I'm back. The computer was like lean too far forward.
Oh. I was just eulogizing you. You interrupted it.
I heard.
News that you're still alive. I was about to say, he was it's a pleasure knowing him. I remember when I first met him. Yeah, I have a whole speech ready to go in case something like that happens.
Give me a second.
All right.
I mean, that's more. It's more likely to happen on one of my kayaking adventures.
Yeah.
All right, I'm back. All
right. Go ahead. You got some super chats there?
I was like, tell me it didn't reset everything.
Yeah.
Sparky, if the need arises, let's hope Iran doesn't hold back this time. What are you, a traitor? You one of those? What are you, red? Dumb, stupid Jakey. Saw Secretary Fido Flair on Tapper about Good getting shot. Who the fuck is that shit even for? How brain dead do they think Americans are? Well,
yeah, I covered that.
He's even making public comments.
Yeah, I covered
Makes
that.
no political sense. They don't care. Jolly Man Big Boy, Destiny to the Mossad. Quote, will you please, for the love of God, stop Google searching the name of people before they commit the false flag?
Yeah, I did see that they had researched her name, right?
Did they?
Yeah, Renee Good, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you don't know. I mean, you don't know which of these are, real. And I mean, you got to really dig into them because it's easy to get. It's easy to get punked,
Yeah, exactly. Sparky, my granddad used to call his hunting dogs back with a similar horn, but it was carved from a bull's horn. I still have it. It's loud as fuck and is D flat. That's a pretty cool little family artifact. CB Applejack. I think Mossad has every right. When do I get 7K?
Yeah.
Well, we'll send you your cut after they send it to us.
Right.
Zandor Varkov. I think Nixon's quote about Bohemian Grove is apt for Mar-a-Lago. It's the gayest goddamn thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I don't get to do Nixon very often.
No.
Jerry Chawiat. Are most Iran exiles as officiating as Israelis? I mean, I think they're basically like the Cubans. You know what I mean? They're like the right-wing Cuban exiles who benefited under the old regime.
Right.
Sparky Van Jones mentioned innovation. He should check out Iran's homegrown hypersonic missiles. Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. Let's move right on along. Just let me do one more read before we do this next segment here. The Grifter's Bible is the mind-bending novel by El Shabooms. It's now a free weekly series on YouTube with a soundtrack by Monumental Sonic Architecture. Follow the First Electric Church of Jesus Christ as they combine the bleeding edge of black patented neuroscience with the state-of-the-art in Michigan to beat the Great Recession. They sell visions of God to the huddled masses of Deep Ellum, Texas, and the money pours in until the local competition, the police, and the U.S. Navy decide to put a stop to it. There's ass whoopings, car chases, and a showdown at high noon on Good Friday in Dodge City. It's sci-fi noir. It's a picaresque thriller. It's a Western from 10 minutes in the future. It's The Grifter's Bible, a film series by El Shabooms with a soundtrack by Monumental Sonic Architecture. New episodes are posted every Monday, youtube.com/@El Shabooms. RB Ham was telling us how much he likes this. He called into the show on Sunday. Instead, he just started following it. And so it comes well reviewed by the dissidents who have checked it out. So please do go and check that out. youtube.com/@El Shabooms. All righty. Let's move right on along.
Okay. So Dokoupil is settling into the job there.
Yes.
Scored a big interview with POTUS. Let's take a look at how that went.
The inflation numbers came out. Overall, not bad, but grocery prices.
No, overall, very good. Good for us. Good for our country. Joe
Not
Biden
bad.
had the
You mean
highest
very good.
inflation numbers in history, correct?
The direction.
I have them down to a level that they haven't seen in about 9 years.
And Mr. President, help me understand. When I travel the country and I go all over the place and I talk to everyday Americans, they tell me they don't feel it because grocery
they
prices
might not,
are up.
but they're going to now. I've only been here for 11 months, okay? And, you know, the first few months were really rough, if you look at them, because I inherited a mess. I inherited a mess of crime. I inherited a mess of inflation. I inherited a mess of places closing up and going to other countries. And now we have the hottest country in the world. Tony, we have now the hottest country in the world. And a year and a half ago, our country was dead. We had a dead country. You wouldn't have a job right now. If she got in, you probably wouldn't have a job right now. Your boss, who's an amazing guy, might be bust, okay?
You know, if you still had your foreskin, you'd be working the condiment station at Subway.
Let me just tell you, you wouldn't. Your boss, who's an amazing guy, might be bust, okay?
Might be
That's
what?
how bad. Might be bust. I doubt it in his case, but you'd never know. Let me just tell you, you wouldn't have this job. You wouldn't have this job, certainly whatever the hell they're paying you. Our country is rocketing right now. We have the hottest country in the world. If they got in, we would be Venezuela on steroids.
Mr. President, I'm just trying to be fair here, just trying to do my job, and I want to talk about this assembly line here.
Listen, don't try to act like a man with me. A man doesn't get his foreskin cut off and then let his wife leave with his 2 kids to go live in Israel. So don't get hard with me. Okay, don't get hard with me. It's like you're bleeding from your penises. You're bleeding from your wherever.
Yeah, you're bleeding.
You know you got your job. You know you got your job. Open up, tough guy.
You ever hear the song "I Left My Cock in San Francisco"? That's you.
That's you. That's you. They told me this Dokoupil guy, he got it cut off for her. I said, really? Really? I never heard of that.
Never heard of that.
DJ Omega MVP. He's basically saying, ouch, that was too tough a question. You know I own you and your zombie network, right? Indeed. Dokoupil, nobody had high hopes for him, but just very much like his boss, Bari Weiss, and very much like Donald Trump himself, the rapidity with which they're burning the whole place down is stunning even the most skeptical observers. Like this guy, I think, is even than people expected him to be. And the ratings are reflecting that. So his first week, he was down 11.4%, but it got better. It got better. Now the ratings are down 23%. Hoodlum here. Keep it up, Bari Weiss. A 23% loss in viewership for CBS News is nothing. We can do better. I bet they can. So from Variety, overall viewership for the first 5 days of Dokoupil's official run on the venerable CBS News program was off 23% from what the program captured a year ago. Dokoupil's first 5 days, I could never say that fucking first 5 days. I
think
always
you get a
want to say
stage name.
Dokoupil.
Yeah, Dokoupil. I
want
mean,
to say
my God.
Dokoupil.
Dokoupil.
Dokoupil's first 5 days from January 5th to January 9th won an average of nearly 4.17 million, according to data from Nielsen, compared with nearly 5.4 million in the year earlier period. Among viewers between 25 to 54, the demographic favored most by advertisers in news programming, the audience also fell 23%, according to data from Nielsen. Dokoupil's first 5 days captured an average of 533,000 compared with 690,000 a year earlier. The numbers pale in comparison to results at ABC's World News Tonight and NBC Nightly News, which captured overall crowds of nearly 8.1 million and nearly 6.73 million, respectively. CBS News, for its part, is pleased with the traction Dokoupil has garnered among digital crowds. During the last 7 days, total minutes spent watching CBS Evening News videos on YouTube grew 58% compared to the weekly average in 2025. That sounds pretty good, right? That sounds pretty good. So I decided to look into what that means exactly. Okay, so let's take a look at these numbers. This is not cherry picked. This comes up like right at the top of the CBS page if you look up his videos. Dokoupil visit site where ICE officer killed Renee Good in Minneapolis, 21,000. Final thoughts
in
from
6
Detroit.
days. In 6 days.
In 6 days.
On the main CBS channel, not like the CBS News Minneapolis channel, not like the local affiliate channel,
I
like
was
the
very
main
careful.
channel, yeah.
No, I was
Fucking-
careful not to grab anything because they were like CBS Miami.
Right,
No,
right.
no, we want to be fair. Yeah, no. Final thoughts from Detroit, 2.9 thousand views after a day. This is what CBS is happy about. This is what they're happy about. Full program from yesterday or 2 days ago, 30,000 for the full broadcast. How did his flagship interview with the President of the United States do? 66,000 views total in a day. 60. This is the YouTube growth that they're very glad about at CBS.
With the president.
With the president. Exclusive interview with the president. An interview which, because Dokoupil got humiliated, actually went kind of viral on X with some of its clips, and still nobody tuned into the CBS channel to actually watch the whole interview. But hey, man, they seem to have solved the problem.
This is great.
Prem Thacker here. CBS seems to be preparing a new segment called Whiskey Fridays with Tony Dokoupil, per sources. Some staff were only first made aware of it as they encountered CBS testing set designs of a fall-stocked bar in the newsroom featuring a large sponsor banner for Jack Daniels. Update. Here is what the new apparent CBS News segment, Whiskey Fridays with Tony Dokoupil, may look like. Okay.
Oh my God.
We were all thinking it. First guest will be XF.
It's just like they're going to make this guy humiliate himself even more. All right, listen, you're going to have to get drunk on the air. Okay. You're just going to have to get drunk on the air.
Smoke a cigar.
Yeah.
You know, say a lot of stuff about how much you hate wokeness and that kind of thing.
If this goes well, we're going to introduce Opioid Tuesdays, where you, you have to get high on
we're gonna get Laura Loomer for that.
Yeah, you have to mix booze and pills midweek, and then you get the whiskey on Fridays. That's the plan. That's the plan. We need another catch for the midweek audience.
All right, Dave Infante here. Have you heard of this guy? He has a adult beverage Substack that's very popular. I know you like a good liquor, so I thought you might have heard of him. I myself do not partake very often. Jack Daniels' parent company, Brown-Forman, tells me it has nothing to do with CBS's Whiskey Friday concept. Quote, Jack Daniels is not involved in any such segment, nor do we have any awareness of the segment and any potential partnerships or sponsorships.
Just gonna plaster the set with the logo of a company who knows nothing about it.
Yeah, Chris Wade. Amazing that even Jack Daniels was like, do not involve us in this dork shit.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well, hey, the reporting since Bari Weiss has taken over is that the advertisers are fleeing. They were so desperate for the Erica Kirk town hall that in the New York local market, they aired Chia Pet commercials. Man, I have not seen a Chia Pet commercial. I couldn't tell you. I didn't even think they still made that shit.
Yeah.
They actually had the commercial. So, yeah, I mean, it's not surprising that Jack Daniels and any advertisers with any sense are looking at this and saying there's no upside to advertising with this dumpster fire. It is just, we're going to be tarnished by association. It's not even, the smell of loserdom is just coming off of this whole enterprise. It's not even about what your politics are. Nobody wants to be next to that energy. Nobody wants their brand to be part of whatever this is. It's certainly not anything that looks like a winning formula. It's pretty much every single day there's a headline that further undermines the credibility of CBS as a going enterprise. And this is, we talked about this a little offline. This is the Achilles heel of fascists, man. They're stupid. They're fundamentally stupid and incompetent. The kind of people who are attracted to these kinds of ideologies are not talented. Bari Weiss is an incredible example of how much money you can make and how far you can go if you just spend your entire career acting as a propagandist for people with a lot of money. But now you put her in a position that requires some kind of skill and meaningful, real world, practical intelligence. And you see the result because she doesn't have any of those things. The arrogance to think you could just take someone with no television experience whose Substack failed. It was a failure propped up by billionaire donor money. It was not as successful. You can go to the Free Press right now, look up their last 6 videos. You go see what kind of numbers they do. It's in the Substack. Go to their Substack. Look at the numbers that their last few articles have done. I don't even know, but I know because I've done segments on it enough what you're going to find. It's a failed enterprise. These billionaires are so used to winning, very often by rigging the system in their own favor. And because the system is already rigged in their favor, they just think they can do anything, man. They can muscle through anything. You can't make people watch dog shit. And actually, the Variety article, to their credit, actually got into what we've been saying. There's no natural audience for what they're trying to do here. You got older people who want their Walter Cronkite CBS, who are horrified by this, and then the younger audience that they want, they wouldn't even watch it when it was in the venue that they frequent, which is YouTube. Why on earth are younger people who would never watch network news, have never watched network news, all of a sudden going to say, oh, you know what? Bari Weiss and Tony Dokoupil, I better start watching CBS. Like, in what world did you think that would work?
Well, the whole thing, I mean, obviously she was hired because she's a Zionist ideologue, right? And Larry Ellison wanted a Zionist ideologue running CBS. So that's the real reason she was hired. We all know that.
Of course.
But then they made this big pretense of, well, the people have lost trust in the media. And so here comes this scrappy independent journalist to restore objectivity. But the irony of that, and the reason why that's a dog that won't hunt, is like, look, a big part of this independent media space is criticism of mainstream media. Like, mainstream media criticism is a huge component of this space. And so we're very conscious of like which of the mainstream organs are the worst. And the big three, like CBS, NBC, ABC, they were not really on our radars being like especially bad in the way that like Fox and MSNBC are, and to a large extent CNN is, because they incorporate more of these sort of editorializing into their content. The New York Times as well, with the editorial board, printing that bullshit thing. I think it was the editorial board printing about the Gaza starvation, right? And the Washington Post, like those are really that's really where people lost trust in the media. The irony is the big three there, ABC, NBC, and CBS, they were relatively credible by mainstream media standards, especially, oddly enough, CBS. I mean, like 60 Minutes was considered one of the few, mainstream media programs with like any integrity at all. Not to say it was perfect, but the idea that this is where you needed a fix is just transparently absurd. It's obvious that she was installed there to do exactly what she's doing now, but it's so obvious that no one's buying it. All right.
They're too dumb to do propaganda well.
Exactly.
Like they just went in there and just went straight state TV.
Right.
Very, very transparently.
Of course. And the B segment of this is a good example of that. So why don't you want to just go right into that? I think we can.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, hang on. We'll set this up again.
All right.
I didn't bring it back to the beginning. I'm going to remove it so I don't show.
Yeah. You can go back. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So, So CBS broke some news. This was picked up by other outlets afterwards, but this did originate with CBS. Now that they're owned by Larry Ellison, when the state wants to feed propaganda to the media, they get the scoop. Breaking: the ICE agent who fatally shot Renee Good on January 7th in Minneapolis, Jonathan Ross, suffered internal bleeding to the torso following the incident, according to 2 U.S. officials briefed on his medical condition. Now, right there, if you are used to looking at news with a jaundiced eye, with a critical eye, with a discerning eye, why the fuck are these U.S. officials anonymous in the report? Like, why an administration that desperately wants to justify this, if that happened, wouldn't they be screaming it from the rooftops? Like, wouldn't they be having the doctors out in front of the cameras? Like, why would you handle it as an anonymous report in that way? So right there, it's very fishy. So here's Covey, who I use in another segment tonight. The same Bari Weiss who killed a 60 Minutes segment critical of the Trump administration because she has concerns about airing it without a sufficient response from the administration, published a piece claiming the agent who killed Renee Good suffered internal bleeding without receiving a shred of evidence from the administration to support that claim. Yeah, it's about the size of it. But, reputed super genius Elon Musk buys it. She almost killed him. But, of course, he doesn't buy it. You want to talk about a traitor? You want to talk about a treasonous person? You want to talk about an enemy of the people? You don't have to look any further than Elon Musk. This guy, for his own ends, is hell-bent on manipulating people's frustration, their rage, their anxiety, their misery, to build a police state where people like him are completely in charge. And this is all he tweets all day long. Just this nonsense, culture war, rage bait to destroy people who take him seriously. He does not care one bit about the people who admire him. You got people who really admire him, and he just uses them like cannon fodder for his war against whatever restraints remain for the state to hold back his unchecked desire for power.
No, guy's worth over $700 billion. You can end homelessness for $25 billion in America.
Right.
Just think about that.
Yeah. I mean, there should, they present it as if this is some kind of a tough one. Are you saying billionaires shouldn't exist? Yes. Of course they shouldn't. This is the result. This is the result of that kind of concentration of wealth. Bottom-feeding scumbag grifter Nick Sorter here. Breaking. The ICE agent who was hit by Renee Good in Minneapolis suffered internal bleeding in the torso following the incident, per CBS News, citing 2 U.S. officials. You see how this works? Now, indict Good's wife. I don't know why that's in quote. Oh, because they're gay?
Because they're gay. They're lesbians.
I see. Wife, I see. For telling her to run over the ICE agent. Now, this was too much for Megyn Kelly, actually. She quote tweeted this. I was reliably told by Mayor Frey that he was fine and skipped out of there. And Kim Iverson weighed in. A bruise is internal bleeding, Megan. It looks like this might be where they're giving themselves plausible deniability so that when this bullshit story completely falls apart, technically a bruise is internal bleeding, so they can say they didn't lie. Any kind of administration with a collective IQ above room temperature, you would say they couldn't be thinking that. With this group, it's very plausible. Micah, the most common form of internal bleeding is a bruise. If it actually were serious internal bleeding, Ross would need to have been hospitalized. He's not. If you still trust the government at this point, you're a fool. Yes, indeed. And Harry Eckles shared this. Medically speaking, you do not get internal bleeding from shooting a woman in the face and then pretending to have been run over. We have eyes. And here's a pretty infamous clip that demonstrates pretty clearly this guy doesn't look like he was suffering any kind of injury whatsoever, much less severe internal bleeding.
Shame! 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 Shame!
Look at that fucking piece of shit. So yeah, definitely does not look like he's suffering from any injury, much less internal bleeding. Adam Cochran, remember, he walked away, drove himself away, moved heavy boxes at his house to relocate his family. Images by the Daily Mail showed Ross moving a large computer wearing the same mask as when he shot Renee. That was within 36 hours. But yeah, internal bleeding. Yeah, there you go. There you go. You ever bruise your ribs, man? You ever bruise your ribs? You can't do that. You can't do that. if you're really injured like that.
Yeah.
The next day you're moving boxes around like that. He's moving a heavy computer. Ron Filipkowski. Who are the 2 U.S. officials and why would CBS give them anonymity when they are just putting something out there that DHS and ICE obviously wants put out? Who are these U.S. officials and why are they granted anonymity? Right there, the whole thing falls apart. If this were true, this administration, with the controversy around this, they'd be showing you as x-rays. Everything would be out there. They wouldn't handle it this way if it were real. Kevin Van Valkenburg. The new standards for CBS News appear to be a deeply reported story with numerous sources, some risking their lives, vetted by lawyers over several months' time, then delayed so the government can be given time to delay it before they offer a denial, or some stuff I said. Yes. And this is what we were saying in the previous segment. They're too stupid to do propaganda well. They just very quickly went straight to being state TV.
Right. So that's referring
straight to the CCOT canceled segment.
Yeah, exactly.
Sarah Ironside. Let's be clear. If the man who shot Renee Good had any injuries, especially internal bleeding, like state-run media outlet CBS claims, they would be posting pictures of those injuries and medical reports all over the internet. Yes. That to me is the forgive the expression smoking gun here. Like there is absolutely no way, if this were true, they would handle it like this, with a couple of anonymous sources slipped to their lock, stock, and barrel owned state media outlet. No way. And now we know the sources have emerged.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And clearly these are not unbiased sources. Even Fox News was having a hard time peddling this bullshit. So the anchor kind of stumbles into almost telling the truth and then realizes that that's a one-way ticket to the unemployment line.
In fact, have internal bleeding injuries. He was hit by that car.
That is correct, and he did. He sustained a serious injury, internal bleeding in his torso. But Sean, regardless of the fact that he may or may not have had internal bleeding, which we know that he did.
What?
Let's say he did not. That doesn't mean that the shoot was not clean.
I mean, that's a moment there where, like, you know, she decided not to go full regard, and then she realized, oh no, my job is to go full regard.
Right.
That's how I read it. Like this was such a load of shit that her human instinct was to try to qualify it, and then she realized she can't qualify it.
He sustained a serious injury, internal bleeding in his torso. But Sean, regardless of the fact that he may or may not have had internal bleeding, which we know that he did, let's say he did not. That doesn't mean that the shoot was not clean.
He may or may not have had an injury, but he totally did. He did. I'm not saying he didn't. Don't fire me, please. Right Angle News Network. CBS News confirms the ICE agent who was forced to deploy lethal force against Renee Good suffered internal bleeding in the torso, directly contradicting slanderous reports by high-ranking Democrats and mainstream outlets like CNN that her vehicle never made contact. Okay, so this was actually, I think, boosted a lot by Megan Day reposting it. And I gave it a watch. I'm not taking a position here. We're not taking a position on whether there was contact or not, but I think this video makes let me blow this up so I get the name. Eric Feigelding. All right. I mean, if you want to be taken seriously, you might want to go with a name change. But did a pretty good job here breaking it down in a way that I thought was pretty convincing, looking at what happened from different angles and coming to the conclusion that actually he had not been struck by the car.
Well, Eric Feigelding didn't make the video. He just posted it.
Oh, he didn't make it.
No, he's just posting this guy's video. No, Eric Feigelding, I think, is an Asian guy. Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah. I don't think this guy is Eric Feigelding.
Well, you know, Asians come in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
This guy could be Asian. You know, you're stereotyping, man.
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
stereotyping again. We've talked about this.
Yeah, we've talked about this.
All right, so let's take a look. But I found the argument pretty compelling.
Jonathan Ross with her car. I wasn't planning on making a video about this, but I keep seeing people saying either that the footage proves he wasn't hit or that it shows he was.
Hang on, so we can find out who he is right now. What's that say? Barely info.
Barely info.
is his handle. All right.
Hits, and both of those can't be true at the same time. And I'll be honest, when I saw this clip, I thought, that really does look like he was hit. Maybe I was wrong. So I gathered a bunch of angles, synchronized them up in an editing software to look frame by frame at what happened, and it turns out we can arrive at a definitive conclusion, so we'll do that together. Now, I'm not going to show blood or gore, but this is a sensitive incident, so viewer discretion is advised. We start with this angle shot by bystander Caitlin Collinson, which shows Renee Nicole Good waving the first ICE car to pass in front of her, which they do. Then she waits for the second car to pass, but they stop and 2 ICE officers exit the vehicle. At this point, you can hear her say, "I'm pulling out." They tell her to get out of the car. They start yanking on the door handle and reach inside her vehicle. This already disproves claims by DHS head Kristi Noem, who said that she was belligerent towards them and attacked them as they were pushing their cars out in the snow. Now we get to this angle shot by Jonathan Ross himself, who's the ICE officer who killed Renee Nicole Good. Importantly, this was shot on a handheld smartphone, not a body cam. And when he passes in front of her car window, she tells him,
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you.
which further shows that she was being calm and polite and trying to de-escalate the situation so she could leave. As far as I understand, this is her wife, which you could argue is being slightly more confrontational, but 1, she has every right to be, and 2, she's not behind the wheel, so her behavior is not at issue at all. Moments before the shooting, you can see on Ross's camera that she's turning the steering wheel right. You can also see the wheels of the car turning right from the other angle as Ross steps out of the path of the vehicle. Okay, third angle, this was posted by ABC5, and ICE defenders say this shows Ross being hit. This is what is professionally referred to as potato quality footage. It's a blob of pixels, so it's really hard to see what's happening. But there are 3 really important things we can get from this footage. 1, the moment before the car purportedly hits him, if you synchronize the footage with the other angle, you can see that he was already outside of the path of the car. It only looks like he was hit because this is from the same angle as a Hollywood film would shoot an action scene to make it look like a punch connects with an actor's face. 2, despite the potato quality, as far as I can tell, these are his legs. I'm gonna highlight them in white so you can see what they're doing. You can see him shifting sideways as the car starts to move forward. Importantly, he stays on both feet for the entire incident, which contradicts claims saying that the footage shows one of his legs being swept up by the hood of the car. There's a 3D recreation of the incident by an NGO called Index Investigation based on the angle from the back. And based on the footage, they depict him leaning on the side of the hood as he's shooting in the side window, which is exactly what we can see in the potato video. And 3, this is the most important one. The snippet that is used from the potato video that is circulating most widely online as a case closed he was hit was tampered with. It doesn't have original sound. It's a less than 1 second clip playing on a loop, and it's been sped up to make it look like the car is going faster than it was. This is part of a deliberate disinformation campaign to change the narrative, so it's not your fault if you were misled by a clip that was tampered with. Finally, back to the officer's perspective, they say you can see him and hear him being hit by the car and that his body cam is knocked off.
Oh!
But remember, this isn't a body cam, it's a smartphone in his left hand. All you can see and hear is him pulling his gun out, using his left hand with his phone in it to lean on the hood of the car, and firing 3 times. And cherry on top, the last thing she said to him was,
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you.
and this is the first thing he said after killing her.
Fucking bitch.
And it only got worse from there, where they didn't even try to give her first aid, and they prevented bystanders from helping her, including one who identified himself as a medical professional. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if I changed your mind, and follow for more.
That seems pretty convincing to me. At the very least, clearly everything we covered leading up to that, this internal injury thing is trying to set up a premise. Some have suggested they're already trying to get out ahead of a lawsuit by setting up a premise that it was justifiable. Maybe trying to get out ahead of the criminal conviction of the shooter. In terms of whether or not he was hit, it's kind of beside the point in regards to the CBS report, which is grossly irresponsible, and as many pointed out, treats government anonymous sources who have every motivation to lie with a credibility that they certainly did not give to people who were sent to a torture dungeon in Sikot who risked their lives to tell their story. It is horrifying that people are trying to justify this. I mean, frankly, even if she had, under those circumstances, hit him while trying to get away from them, I would still call it murder. They should not have put her in that position. You just saw her moments before, completely calm. It's all good. I'm not mad at you. They escalated and caused that situation. Certainly, he was out of the way. His life was not in danger. He shot her. This is not in dispute. He shot her 3 times in the head from the side. He's not in any danger at that point. We know, and we'll get into this a little on the in Keaton's segments. ICE is just hiring scum of the earth. I mean, these are people who couldn't get hired to run a lemonade stand, who are running around with badges, guns, and Stephen Miller telling them you can act with absolute impunity. And as far as the Trump administration is concerned, their Department of Justice is certainly never going to bring any charges. If any justice is going to come, it's going to be from outside of that system. That you're seeing people who are, throwing around their bullshit macho, that's what you get. It's just fucking disgusting, man. It's disgusting. Like I don't know how much worse people can get under this administration and the dark animating spirits that it's stirring up. This was a person with a life, with a whole life, whose life was taken by this fucking piece of garbage, this fucking piece of shit with a fucking mask on, took this woman's life. If you're running around saying, this is something to celebrate or something justified or she had it coming, you're a fucking Nazi. You're a Nazi. It's the old saying, if you want to know what you would have been doing in Nazi Germany, you're doing it now. So you would have been one of the people who supported the Reich. And frankly, a lot of people who support this would gladly embrace that designation. I mean, these people are real fucking fascist, bottom-feeding scum, from the ICE agents to the people running around supporting these ICE agents committing acts like this. These are human lives, man. Like, it's not a joke. What if that happened to someone you cared about? And to be mocking this woman's wife or to be calling for prosecution of the wife, lowest of the low, man. Lowest of the low. I keep being shocked by how much lower the bar keeps getting.
Well, I did, 2.5 hours of coverage on this. We covered it for 90 minutes here on this show. And then I actually interviewed Janine Eunice, the civil rights lawyer on the Jimmy Dore show, after she went viral for sort of going back and forth with JD Vance. And then she went on the Daily Show, actually, I think a couple of days afterwards. So yeah, I mean, we've looked at all this footage and scoured over things, and I've said a lot about this already. The only two things that matter are that clearly the woman was not trying to run him over with the car. Clearly, you could tell that from his own cell phone footage. She cut the wheel before she went forward. So clearly there was no intent to hit him. Obviously, that's important. And then the second thing that's important is that his feet were planted outside the path of the vehicle. So whether he leaned on it when he was reaching for his gun, or if there was any incidental contact, it was incidental. It was not intentional. There's no real disputing that. And if his feet were planted, to the side of the car, that means his life was not in danger, which means it was an unjustified shot. That's the first shot. But then, as Janine said, and she's a lawyer, so she knows this inside and out, you have to adjudicate each use of force individually, which means when you have to adjudicate the second and third shot independent of the first one, because let's say the first shot didn't hit her or hit her in the arm, and wouldn't have been fatal. Well, at that point, the second or third shot may have been the fatal shots. And at that point, you could see, we broke this down very thoroughly, he's a foot to the side of the car. I mean, he's not in contact with the vehicle at all, not even close for the second or third shot. So right there, it's an unjustified kill. I mean, that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. Now, the wife was talking smack to the officer beforehand and going back to her car, and that's when they decided to say, "Get out of the fucking car!" Right? They weren't just going to leave it at that. Which, by the way, this is borrowed from the next segment, but ICE is now putting out, legal refreshers for agents, and one of the legal refreshers here is that, hey, speech or expression is protected activity, which means you're allowed under the law to kind of be rude to them. They even put that in their documents. So the wife, while, yeah, you could say she was being antagonistic, I don't think she was being antagonistic to the point where it warranted them approaching the vehicle and telling them to get the fuck out. That created a panic. But the bottom line is his feet were planted well to the side of the vehicle. His life was not in danger. That's all that matters when it comes to a fatal shot. And CBS, like I said, to just run with that headline, providing no sourcing, no article, no images, no nothing, just a standalone tweet, which everybody knows on X, you don't believe a tweet if it doesn't have a source from anybody. Right? CBS News is breaking. We have two people who told us he had internal bleeding. Where's the write-up? Where's the evidence? Where are the links? Where's anything?
And then other outlets picked it up. ABC picked it up.
Well, this is why you need someone like Bari Weiss at CBS. You need someone who's just going to go with that. Who's just going to, you can give them that and they'll print it. I don't think ABC would have gone with that had CBS not gone first. The way the media game works, if one outlet takes something, the other outlet piggybacks. They say, according to CBS, this is the deal, because they don't want to be stuck without the story at all. So, it's just, it was a horrible incident, obviously an unjustified kill. Overwhelmingly, polling shows that people are not believing the line of bullshit that they're trying to sling on this. I mean, no one believes that she was trying to hit him. That's just patently obvious. I mean, she's clearly not even angry you could see 10 seconds prior. The wife screamed, "Drive, drive, drive." So she, in a panicked, jerking of the car, she put the car in drive, but you could see even from the cell phone camera side, she's cutting the wheel before she goes forward. That's it. That's all that matters. That's the beginning and the end of it. The other stuff just kind of obscures that question, and that's what Eunice was telling me on the Jimmy Dore show, and that seems to be the proper sort of legal opinion. All that matters is, was your life in danger? And obviously, was she intent? If she's intent on running you over, then that's intent, which means she's determined to do that. But as long as that's not true, which it clearly isn't, and as long as your body was outside the path of the vehicle, then it's not a justified shot, period. It's as simple as that, really.
It's shocking seeing how many people. I was talking to you about this earlier, man. These pop culture channels are weighing in on this. Gary on Neurotic talking about how it was a justified shooting. It's insane how you're seeing. I mentioned, like, you look at Peter Thiel, you look at Ben Shapiro, you look at Elon Musk. And these guys, they all reference nerd culture shit. They all reference Lord of the Rings and all this stuff. And it's just such an inversion of what people always expected. There was always this myth that, the nerds are the meek. And if they get power, they're, going to be good and they're going to get back at the jocks, right? And, they're the most horrible fucking people if you give them any platform or sense of power, because they're nursing such grudges and wounds. And, that extends to all the people who support this, man. I mean, it's very few women. It's mostly broken, insecure men. But after 40 plus years of deindustrialization and wealth inequality and lack of wage growth, there's a lot of those to fuel a fascist fire with.
Sure thing. All right. So Jake is going to have to repair our scroll. It's broken. I tried to put it on the screen. Every once in a while, I guess something times out in the back end. So we cannot do the scroll today, but we want to thank our members, of course. And I'll have Jake get on that. So why don't we go to some super chats, and then we'll do our final segment of the day.
All right. Hang on. There we go. Eric Maines, did you see James Lee's clip on huge fires in Patagonia and link with Israeli interests? Looks like Crete, Thailand might not be the only ones on new colony menu. Yeah, we wound up not doing it because at that time it just the facts were not clear.
Yeah, there wasn't enough
Want to wind
information
up
at the time.
reporting stuff that we couldn't prove. Paul Smith, let them leave. They ruined our cities and country. Let who leave?
Yeah, who leaves?
ICE, I agree. They're ruining our cities and country. I think ICE should leave. Strike first. Michael Tracy, 3-hour stream on RFK felching. Please.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we should invite him back on to talk about that. Domark, I had you two on mute while the teens were taking their quiz. Yeah, I'm a teacher. Surprise, motherfuckers. I'll watch y'all later. Hey, Russ, give me order of fry rye with. So, are you being are you doing Asian?
You're doing Asian
stereotype?
shtick.
Is
Doing
that what
shtick.
you're doing? Asian stick. Mill Raven, if Russell thinks that linguistic drift is an excuse for bad grammar, he has another think coming. Yeah, I do think it's an excuse. Red French Moon. Guys, help me out, but isn't the hottest country China with its record 1.19 trillion trade surplus while Trump US has a chronic deficit? Am I crazy? That was actually on my list of stories today, that China just recorded a record trade surplus. Yeah, now he likes to say that. I mean, I guess it's hot for like fascist autocrats and, you know, labor contractors who don't want to have to follow any laws. Might be hot in that sense. Xavier, I don't know why I got dragged earlier, but I demand justice. God forbid I influence a few people. I didn't know DeRusso was a fan.
DeRusso, yeah.
Look at that. Benjamin Stieber, while others screamed about CBS, I remained calm, remembering Sun Tzu. Do not interrupt your opponent when they are making a mistake. That's a good point. That's a good point. Snorky, come on. Fiegelding is an old distinguished name for someone whose job is to sneak up behind sheep and insert the thing. Yeah. Sparky, the doofus ICE agent wasn't hit by the car. Ironically, he slipped on actual ice and dropped his smartphone camera. The noise was from fumbling the camera, not from being hit by the car. Honestly, it looked that way to me from that breakdown. Andy Gardner, Keaton with the stereotyping, dirtbag. That's what I keep saying, man. It's going to get me in trouble over here. Regeneration News, war is upon you, whether you would risk it or not. All right, do one last one here. Sparky, only people police departments rejected I've known over the years were too nervous or had too much of a temper to be a policeman. ICE takes all applicants. Katie interviewed a reporter who'd applied. Is it the same one? Did she get the one who just did the article?
I'm not sure. Stoop Sign says Persian girl is the ideological cousin of Syrian girl, distant relative of Gen X girl. Thank you, Stoop Sign. Vienticus Prime, speaking of playing up death tolls, I saw someone make a video saying they found newspaper articles from 1919 and 21 saying 6 million Jews' lives were in danger, all in different countries. Good research there. Monkey Rotary, when I first saw the double D insignia, I thought nice, but no, it's just too damn Jews. Saying, thank you, Monkey Rotary. Vienticus Prime, empires are gay. Yes, they're gay, totally gay, nothing but gay. That's right, they are. Empires are so gay that everyone who supports empire is a secret fetish to end up like Gaddafi. That's a graphic joke. Kenman G, apparently the Shah's grandson in Maryland is a playboy and a womanizer who spends more time chasing chicks than reading about politics. Imagine a regime with him. It would be like Trump. Yeah, exactly. Next in line, right? Professor Brown note, help. I'm stuck on a retarded Gone with the Wind remake where Keaton goes around saying, we will find you. Yes, I got to drop that retarded Park clip on Twitter. That was good.
Yeah, and the tagline has to be "Retarded finds a way."
Yeah, life. Yeah, got to come up with something. Yeah, but yeah, no, that's a good idea. Yeah, I got to drop that on Twitter. Let's see, where is this? Yo, Shush said, I believe the ICE agent had internal bleeding, but the question is, did it happen when he was hit by the car, or the rough gay sex the ICE agents had back at the hotel? Virtuoso, it's insane how this fetal alcohol syndrome twerp Nick Shirley got Patriot bot boosted to stoke rage about a few brown people committing fraud, only for state-sponsored thugs to murder a woman. Yeah, exactly. Well, it starts with that. The guy's in Greenland the year before. He's in Israel. Yeah, we had a lot of people very upset that we saw through that right away. First guest on Whiskey Friday, Liquor Store Raccoon versus Hegseth, shot-for-shot showdown to see who pussies out and passes out. And John, hopefully not Raccoon, if he wants to remain virginal with Pete Drunk. Thank you, TPS Report. Appreciate that. All right, folks, we got one more segment on the day. So, more terrible news out of Minnesota. Another ICE shooting. Federal agent shoots man in leg, leading to protests. Federal law enforcement was on scene at North Lyndale Avenue and 25th Avenue Wednesday night after a man was shot in the leg by a federal agent. A Car 11 photographer on scene said a crowd gathered in the area of the shooting and was tense and chaotic, with protesters using horns and whistles. At least one ambulance was seen leaving the area. In a statement, Department of Homeland Security officials said the incident began at 6:50 p.m. Wednesday when federal law enforcement conducted a, quote, targeted traffic stop of a person from Venezuela. According to DHS, the person fled the scene in his vehicle, crashed, then ran away. When federal agents caught up to the man, the subject and law enforcement were in a struggle on the ground. Two subjects came out of a nearby apartment and also attacked the law enforcement officer with a snow shovel and broom handle. Fearing for his life and safety as he was being ambushed by three individuals, the officer fired defensive shots to defend his life. The initial subject was hit in the leg, DHS said in the statement. DHS said the officer and the subject are both in the hospital and two other people are in custody. In a way, this story is even more troubling than the killing of Renee Good because the shots hit him in the leg. Now, I know that's counterintuitive because obviously the outcome of the first story was far worse. But as I'll get into a little later, law enforcement officers are told never to fire shots that are not intended as fatal shots. And there's good reason for that. So the fact that bullets are flying around and hitting people in the leg, in a way, is actually scarier than the first story that obviously captured the country's focus for so long. But we'll get into that more in a couple minutes. Video posted to social media and shared by State Senator Erin Mai Quaid purported to show the family of the man who was shot calling 911, with a woman saying in Spanish that ICE agent shot her husband in the leg. She claimed the agent had been following her husband and hit his vehicle, and that agents attempted to enter their home. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara told media a 911 call came in at 6:51 p.m. for an adult man who was shot. He said the actions of the crowd Wednesday night were unlawful. So let's take a look at this video. Now, this is Spanish language. There's subtitles. Because you really have to watch the video to experience it, I'm not going to do the thing where I read the subtitles. So if you're listening on audio, if you're on Spotify, you can get the video version of the podcast by just switching to video mode. I recommend you do that because you're really going to want to have to watch this. So let's take a look at this video as the man was calling 911.
Venían persiguiendo a mi marido hace como media hora, lo estaban tratando de chocar y llegó a la casa y como le cerramos la puerta le dispararon.
So she says that they shot him when he closed the door, which is a different story than DHS told.
They were following my husband and they hit his vehicle and we closed the door of them and they shot him. Marica, me da miedo, asomarme la ventana.
Te voy a decir algo. Si no hubiese visto nieve, nunca me hubiesen agarrado.
Ni que quiera. No hubiese pasado nada.
Y el carro... Están aquí abajo afuera tratando de entrar a la casa. Por favor, necesitamos ayuda.
Que me pongas ahí para yo enseñarlo, para que venga a hacernos ayuda. Porfa, no disparen.
Ay, Dios mío. Sí, en este momento están afuera de la casa tratando de entrar. Están abriendo un carro. ¿Ese es el suyo?
¿Cuál?
Están abriendo un carro, la parte de atrás.
Sí, es el mío. No es el mío. El teléfono que venía fuerte.
En la pierna. Dile que dispararon una puerta.
So, a different story there, and just a horrible scene there. Again, like, you got kids there, like, just what a horrible scene. And again, if you're one of the people who watches this and goes, well, I shouldn't have come here illegally or something, you're just an asshole. You're just a small person. You're just a worthless piece of shit. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey called the ongoing situation with federal law enforcement unsustainable. He also called for people to protest peacefully, but said he understands why people are angry and afraid. American citizens are getting picked up off the street by people in masks. That's not the way things should be conducted in any city in America. That's not who we are. That's not America, Frey said. So I'm calling for peace. Everybody has a role in achieving that peace. We're going to try everything we can to keep it. So, yeah, I mean, you see a scene like that. It's just an absolute horror. Now, according to the 911 call, they shot as the guy was closing the door, which would have meant he was running away from the officer. We'll get into that in a moment, but I just want to take a pause here because for people who watch scenes like this of a family just being terrorized by masked federal officers who have been given immunity by the government to essentially do to them whatever they want. If you think that you're getting something out of this, I think this is worth pointing out. It was almost worth doing a whole segment on, but just as a little, I think it belongs here in this segment. The U.S.-born unemployment rate rose after Trump reduced immigration. Government data show the Trump administration's immigration policies reducing the number of foreign-born workers did not help U.S.-born workers in 2025. The latest data indicate a substantial drop in foreign-born workers did not translate into better labor market outcomes for U.S.-born workers or encourage more workers to enter the labor force. This is Forbes magazine. This is not Common Dreams. This is not Jacobin. This is Forbes. The U.S.-born unemployment rate increased over the past 12 months. Trump officials, including White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, predicted fewer immigrant workers would produce significant benefits for U.S.-born workers. Well, you know who didn't predict that? Us. We told you over and over again, you are not getting a better deal out of these mass deportations. That is completely obvious. Companies who pay illegal immigrants, you know, a third of what they pay, what they would have to pay American workers, those are companies operating that way for a reason, because their business model sucks. They operate that way because they can't afford to pay American workers what they're supposed to. So when you take out the foreign-born workforce, the idea that they're going to be replaced with American workers at good wages was just always a fantasy. So all of this is for what? All of this is for the spectacle of what we see here. Now, back to what I was saying earlier. U.S. police should shoot to kill or not at all, law and justice experts say. So this was a Guardian article from 2014, because we see a lot of people who mean well. They're coming from the right place. Their heart is in the right place. Who say, well, if they had to shoot, why wouldn't they shoot the car in the tires if she was getting away? Or if they have to shoot, why do they have to shoot to kill? Well, there's a good reason for that. It makes sense when you think about it, okay? McCoy, the legal analyst, said the legal threshold for using deadly force is high. An officer can only shoot at a suspect who poses a life-threatening risk to the officer or the public. She said allowing officers to shoot to wound would lower that threshold. As a policy, shoot to wound is a really bad idea because it would give the police permission to take that gun out of the holster under any circumstance, she said. A shoot to wound policy could lead to more unintentional police killings, by expanding the range of circumstances in which an officer would be allowed to use his or her weapon. So the reason why it is in a way more alarming that this guy got shot in the leg is because officers are trained. They're supposed to be trained. Of course, with ICE, you never know what the training is, if any, at all. You're trained. You don't touch that gun unless your life is in immediate danger. And if your life is in immediate danger, you have to use your weapon to neutralize that threat, i.e. shoot to kill. You give an officer permission to shoot to wound or shoot at a car tire, you're basically giving them broad permission to use that firearm for purposes other than to neutralize a dire and immediate threat to your life, which of course leads to more shootings and more killings. So the fact that a shot would be fired willy-nilly like this and hit a guy in the leg, that's indication of what? It's indication that it's amateur hour, that these people are not trained. They don't know what they're doing. Now, Ken Klippenstein had a report on this a couple days ago. Immigration agents terrified of ICE backlash after shooting. While Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and others in the administration preen about justifying last week's shooting and trumpet their war on domestic terrorism, DHS is privately divided and hesitant about the latest deployments. According to documents leaked to me, not only is the department seeking volunteers for the apparently unpopular mission, it's urging its agents to maintain a low profile and comply with use of force policies. So this is the legal refresher. He obviously got these images here. So use of force is a seizure of a person necessary to carry out law enforcement duty, a reasonable amount of force in light of the totality of the circumstances, including imminent threat to safety, severity of the crime, actively resisting or evading, tense, uncertain, rapidly evolving circumstances, and foreseeable risk of injury. First Amendment protects freedom of religion, speech, press, right to assemble, and petition the government.
Oh, really?
So it lists out, protected activities versus not protected activities with a special accent here. I referenced this in the last segment. They're making a point now to tell the ICE officers profanity or personal insults directed at officers, rude gestures directed at officers, arguing with officers, challenging officers' authority, talking back to officers, doing police contact. Those are not violations of U.S. Code 111. So here's Ken Klippenstein on Democracy Now! Talking about this piece where he adds another interesting detail.
Surprising parts of reporting on this was seeing the disjunct between the Department of Homeland Security's public-facing description of the shooting, this bravado they had, Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem immediately labeling her a terrorist and pretty much dragging her corpse through the streets as she, sullied her name in the public consciousness, again, within just a couple of hours of the shooting. And then you talk to people that work for Homeland Security privately, and a very different picture emerges. They're very conscious of the protests that are taking place in Minneapolis. They're very concerned about it. And there's splits within the agency about the shooting itself and the general mission. The reason they are going to these volunteers is because they're worried about sending more experienced agents there who might not agree with the mission. And none of that is stuff you hear when you look at the public-facing officials in the Trump administration describing these incidents and the department.
Okay, so if we are to take his reporting at face value, which I have no reason to doubt the credibility of it, it all kind of makes a perfect sense. Why has Minneapolis been even worse than Charlotte, even worse than Chicago? Well, as these incidents pile up and escalate, and as public opinion turns against ICE, and as the true agenda of ICE becomes apparent, which I'll get to in a minute, the people who are qualified, who take their reputation seriously, they don't want to do it anymore. They don't want to do it anymore. That's why they are on a volunteer recruiting mission for Minnesota. So when you piece all that together, maybe that's why you have a guy getting shot in the leg when he clearly was at best running away from the officer. He wasn't even one of the guys, according to the reporting, who ambushed the officer. And by the way, that's all just based on hearsay. To my knowledge, there's been no photo or video evidence to corroborate any of that. There was a crowd around. People always have cameras. I'm a little surprised no one got footage of the officer being descended upon by a guy with a shovel. But that aside, the guy who was hitting the leg was clearly not one of those two, according to the reports, according to the DHS itself, it seems. So how does a guy like that get hit in the leg? Because you have a guy who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing the job. You have people who don't know what they're doing, because as this gets worse and worse, the people who do know what they're doing don't want to do this anymore. They don't want to do this anymore. Why? Because they're getting wind of what the actual mission is. And the actual mission, of course, goes far beyond immigration enforcement. So this was another Ken Klippenstein piece. Exclusive secret ICE programs revealed. Operations Benchwarmer, Tidal Wave, Abracadabra, Dust Off, Fleur-de-Lis. These are just a few of the secret programs recently undertaken by ICE. Pardon me. ICE has become a self-appointed bouncer for America under Donald Trump, enlisting tens of thousands of federal, state, and local police and intelligence departments and agencies to not just root out illegals, but also exploit them for intelligence, leaked documents show. A Border Patrol officer outraged by ICE's conduct has leaked to me this and other documents, providing an unprecedented glimpse into ICE's undeclared activities across the country. Many of these operations and their code names have not been previously reported. A 15-page long document marked law enforcement sensitive details 21 different major ICE operations, resulting, so it says, in 6,852 apprehensions since June. From Operation A covert effort to develop informants among immigrants in detention, to Operation Benchwarmer, which alone spans the deployment of 2,000 intelligence assets across the country. The document gives a sense of how aggressively ICE is scouring neighborhoods and developing sources to spy on immigrants and Americans alike. In another interview that Ken Klippenstein gave, he also mentioned the fact that Trump considers these drug cartels to be invading armies. So they're trying to get informants about the cartels as well. Basically, what you're seeing here, the long and short of it is that you're really blurring the line between military and law enforcement. And that, of course, creates a nightmare for civil liberties, because the military and the law enforcement agencies operate under different constraints. The military has a lot more latitude to conduct wartime operations, whereas law enforcement is subject to this, pain in the ass called the Constitution. That's why we insisted that the kidnapping of Maduro was a law enforcement operation, right? It wasn't an act of war. That was just, there was this guy who was indicted. We had to go get him, right? The media is telling a certain story about ICE, giving the blow-by-blow on the most public horrors, but never quite seeing the bigger picture, that it's part of a larger war. As a military intelligence source told me, the ICE crackdown isn't just about immigration. It's about gathering intelligence in support of Trump's war on cartels, as well as on Antifa, the radical left, and those who are anti-American, and anyone else they consider terrorists. And since the administration has been so quick to label everyone, including Renee Good, terrorists, it's no wonder they think they're at war. Like I said, a blurring of the line between military and law enforcement. This was outlined in the Patriot Act, as I was telling Rex Jones earlier in the live stream. This is basically the Bush agenda come to fruition, because all pretense has been stripped, and all technological limitations that existed in the early 2000s are now not limitations anymore, to the extent that they are capable of building out this surveillance infrastructure. And of course, they're going to do what they always do, is they're going to use people they catch as informants to go after more people. Where does that end? No one knows. No one knows. The only hope of this, and this is what we were talking about offline earlier, is the first piece of Ken's reporting over the last 2 days, which is the people who are actually qualified to implement this are getting wind of it and quitting, and they're bringing in the backbenchers from the Fargo Bowling League to do ICE operations. Now, that is very, very scary in the short term and in the here and now of the on-the-ground situation here. But you can see there are divisions within the agencies, because, of course, who wants to do this? And as I mentioned, they're not even paying these people that much. The starting salary is $50,000 plus a third of the $50,000 signing bonus. To do that shit, to go out and fucking fight people in the street, $66,000 a year. I mean, you're talking about the most desperate, down and out people who are not qualified to do any other kind of work, arming them, setting them loose in these cities. Of course, it's a disaster. And of course, what Jacob Frey said, the mayor of Minneapolis, is 100% correct. It's not sustainable. It can't go on. It just can't. It can't go on like this. It's just a horrible, horrible situation.
Yeah. The people that they're recruiting at this point are in many ways victims of the kind of economy that we've had for decades.
Yep.
That was a great insight if you've ever seen or read Clockwork Orange. The fact that his gang wind up police later on was a great insight in how people who come from environments without a lot of opportunities very often wind up working as enforcers for the state. And that's what you're seeing with a lot of these people. But what ICE is doing is so out of control that you can't even get the average person in that category to do it. The kind of people who are agreeing to do this are really, really the bottom of the barrel. That's why, as we saw in this woman who just did this whole article where she applied, and she has a radical online left profile, and they didn't even look at it. And she said, I would have failed a drug test, but they didn't give me one. Because they don't want to look into it. Like they need warm bodies. This is, if there's anything hopeful here, it's that they are having such a hard time getting people to agree to do this, even in a country where people need work, even in a country where it is easier to get into Harvard than to get a job. They're still having a hard time getting people to agree to do this. We have said from the beginning, ICE was never about immigration. It was never about immigration. You do not spend this kind of money for a temporary operation, right? Presumably, if ICE accomplished its mission, eventually you wouldn't need this enormous immigration force anymore, right? Mission accomplished. You got the immigrants out of the country. No. This was always intended, and they're getting there very quickly, to be exactly this. This is exactly what we said this would be. It's a secret police and Gestapo for the United States. That's what it is. They're going to be deployed as a combination of the Stasi and the brown shirts. They're going to be state police, state informants, state meaning the state in the largest sense. And at the same time, the Stasi were not ones to go out with the truncheons and beat people on the street. That's more of a Gestapo brown shirt thing. They're both. They're doing both. They're going to be an overall, or they're being designed to be an overall tool of repression for the state. My New Year's Eve predictions, one of them was that ICE would be deployed to act in a police capacity to suppress civil unrest that's going to be coming, I believe. And that finally, something that anyone who's been paying attention since they passed the Patriot Act has been saying would eventually happen. They're going to test those provisions to prosecute an American leftist, whether Antifa or whatever they define as Antifa. They're going to float it. They're going to see if they can prosecute someone as a terrorist for political speech in America, for aiding and abetting terrorism. I believe they're going to try out something like that. And if you look at this report around ICE, this is part of that overall framework. They'll send out ICE to develop the investigation, coordinate them with maybe some of the real intelligence services. You think this is bad now? I'm afraid you ain't seen nothing yet. Is it sustainable? No, it's not sustainable. But the Third Reich did a lot of damage before they went down. I mean, it was sustainable for 10 years or so, right? I mean, you could do a lot in 10 years.
I mean, I think it's a little difficult to predict the machinations of it down to that. I mean, obviously, you're entitled to your predictions. They already have a lot of this stuff. I mean, so much of this stuff has already been in place for so long. I think with ICE, you have a militarized police presence on the street, and the more people you wrap up in this web, the more you turn the people against each other, right? The more you turn them against their own populations in their own countries in terms of gathering intelligence against cartels and things like that. Like I said, it's a blurring of the lines between the military and the law enforcement operations. And this is why the Patriot Act was written. I mean, this was the whole point of it. This is why we have a Department of Homeland Security in the first place. We didn't have that before 9/11. This is all relatively recent. So like the idea that there's any real need for this infrastructure is nonsense. There's no need for any of this infrastructure. This was all born of the post 9/11 paranoia. And now you're seeing the realization of a lot of that because, as I mentioned a couple times already on the show, there's no need for any pretense anymore because the population has just been so beaten down. They're so angry. They're so resentful. They're so at the end of their rope that rage just takes over to the point where we're lashing out, as all dying empires do. And you have the technology to be able to gather incredible amounts of information. And so once you drop all pretense and the technology is set loose, a lot of terrible shit can happen. And we are fast on our way to that. Ultimately, these things become a matter of political will at some point, and you're seeing the people just really reject this, in pretty big numbers, and I think the trends in terms of people's attitudes about this are going in the correct direction because people look at this. See, this is another point I made. People's fear about people's opposition or real concern about illegal immigration, in most cases, not all, obviously, but in most cases, was always more abstract than concrete, right? I mean, when I covered the Nikki Haley event in New Hampshire, you got these people up in New Hampshire saying that the border is their number one concern. You're in fucking New Hampshire. Okay, what are you talking about? It's not real to them in the way that this shit is real to them. When their neighbors are getting rousted by ICE and there's a disturbance on their street because someone, God forbid, just got shot or something, that presents a question to the average person. Okay, was there really a crisis that warranted this? Do I really want to live like this? No, most people don't, which is why this stuff eventually runs out of steam. But yeah, in the interim, it's very scary and very dangerous for sure. All right, let's go to some Rumble rants.
That is why I'm buying this condo.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. All right. Let me take some super chats and I'll take some Rumble rants and we'll close the lights. It's 3:30 a.m. in Thailand.
Yeah, and I got to be up in the morning. Todd for Florida. People really need to review the findings of the Stanford prison experiment. I think our audience is probably familiar with them. What ICE is doing is that experiment on a national level, same results. Well, I think the difference is what was so interesting to people about the Stanford prison experiment is these were normal students. Like, you're right, there is an element of that. Give people authority and they're going to act and empower them to brutalize people, and they're going to act that way. You're getting a population that's already scum who are enlisting in ICE, so it's not hard to get them there. DeSalle, unite against the elites, net minus lowercase. What am I missing? Paul Smith, the billionaires you mentioned, LOL. Which ones? They're all there. Billionaires are no laughing matter, young man. Gnong, nong, nong. James Lee saw the Pig's View video and said, well, he was hit by the car. The whole episode was like that. Which episode? Sparky, remember in A Clockwork Orange when they cured Alex DeLarge, your humble narrator, encountered two of his droogs who are now policemen who proceeded to beat him up. Are we now a Clockwork Orange? Did you already say that before I referenced it? Or are you referencing my reference? To sell no more mask, because that would be weird, because that's a pretty fucking obscure reference for two people to make. Race car, hey Russ, signed on late, but hope the surgery went well. It wasn't really surgery, it was like root planing, I think they call it. It's like deep cleaning, basically. Sparky, if someone gets away, so be it. It's a mistake if the policeman takes it as a personal affront. Police see the public at large as enemy combatants, not as people to protect and serve.
Well, that's of course right. And they had her license plate. I mean, the whole thing was just they spontaneously decided to roust them because the wife was mouthing off. And these people are just fucking small people who can't take that shit. That's why they sent the memo saying, hey, by the way, people have a right to call you an asshole if they want. You can't do that. Right? Because these people don't know that and they're fucking children. And we've seen this over and over and over again.
Well,
not thankfully it manifesting in shooting deaths, but we've seen ICE just lose their shit on people for giving them lip. And now there's like these people are fucking, like I said, they are backbenchers. This is amateur hour. These are lowlifes who can't handle a situation like that. And so that's what happened. But yeah, of course, if they wanted to, if they needed to make an arrest there, which there's no real indication that they needed to based on everything that we're seeing now. The woman's got her, she stopped, she's got her license plate. You call the police who know how to do it, and they do it. Instead, you have that.
Yeah, if there was actually anything to do with immigration, why are they fucking with these two people who are clearly American citizens?
Yeah.
Like, why is that even coming up? Why are these women in that situation? Crikey, 1999. Thank you. Andy Gardner, ICE, the domestic version of an empire's death grab as it tries desperately to hold on to what it has. Quoting Starship Troopers, it's afraid. They are. That's true. Sparky, yes, Russell, I sent the super chats before your Clockwork Orange reference. Wow, isn't that crazy?
Impressive.
Because that's a weird reference for two people to make on the same night.
Impressive. Well, Sparky's a fan. Great minds, right?
Yep.
Vienticus Prime says it's kind of hard not to think of ICE as snowflakes because ICE and snowflakes kind of go together. Stoop sign, the nerds aren't the meek, they're the school shooters. Yeah, I mentioned I was talking to someone in an earlier rant. I told one his writing was poor and he was a proud 9th grade dropout. Professor Brown, no, life will get lost trying to find a way and says, I will find it, and gets distracted by its own shadow and a funny butterfly. Repeat. T-Bone says, again, they're turning the country into an openly racist tiered class system with IDF-style raids where racism is accepted and normalized. Yep. As if our government is the same as that unsinkable. Thank you, T-Bone. Vienticus Prime says, ICE is the Stanford experiment in public view. Stoop sign, apologies, I didn't make this clear in the prior chat. The online chatter online where I'm talking to alleged ICE agents is that the public comments are meant for consumption. Okay. Sorry, I ran out of characters a bit there when I copied that. Vienticus Prime says, Jinx, that other guy owes me a Coke. That's right. You guys both thought of the Stanford experiment. A lot of telepathy going on in the chats today. And that was the Rumble room and the YouTube room. So
we've all been hanging out together so long, we're thinking alike.
Exactly. All right, folks. Well, that's our show. Appreciate you very much for being here. Thanks to the YouTubers and the Rumblers. Thanks to the mods for keeping the peace.
And let's big thanks to Jezzy, man. Jezzy, as Cricket says here, does a great job.
Yes, indeed. Well, she's the mod, so that's Jezzy. Absolutely. Thank you, Jezzy. Appreciate you very much. Appreciate everybody. There you go. Cricket P. Certainly wouldn't want to do it. Good job, Jezzy. Thank you for that. Thank you for posting Rex's link when he was on earlier. Appreciate that.
That was an amazing job. I haven't seen anyone threaten to put us in an oven in like a year.
Exactly. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Appreciate you spending the afternoon with us. To the mods for keeping the peace in the chat. To the YouTubers, to the Rumblers. Smash that subscribe button on the way out. Smash that like button on the way out. I want to thank Rex Jones, our guest, for coming on. He's a great guest. And we will see you all on Sunday. Well, I will see you. Russ will see you again Tuesday. I'll be live Sunday at 7 o'clock.
That was my last show from Bangkok.
That's right. Last show from Bangkok. Last show from Bangkok for Russell Dobular. So I will be on at 7 p.m. on Sunday with two guests, Katie Halper and Kyle Anzalone. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing you all again. Thanks for spending the afternoon with us. Go ahead.
Oh, and let me just plug tomorrow, my first Bangkok, Thailand video will drop on Russ on the Road. So I'll be like, you're going into afternoon, so it'll be like tomorrow morning.
Okay, there we go. So make sure you're subscribed to Russ on the Road NYC. Do I got the channel there? Where is it? Here,
Yeah.
youtube.com at Russ on the Road NYC. Thanks, everybody.
That one will cover the journey from New York to Thailand up through the first meal in Thailand.
All right, nice. Very well. All right, we're going to test this new singing bowl out as we thank you all once again for being here with us this afternoon. Until we see you again, be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.